before you go trying to impose your shit onto others. That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
What's the dollar exchange rate for the Iranian currency?
What does that have to do with anything? Wait.
I'm just
So
asking.
okay, so Redman. So when we this is the same shit in Venezuela, right? When
No,
we
it's not.
in America, when we put sanctions on a nation and then talk about their economy as if it does not impact their economy, this is why the U.S. is so pissed off, right? Iran has been able to bypass these sanctions with the Road and Belt Causeway through Europe and China and Russia, right? And this is what pisses people off, is because the U.S. no longer can control by implementing these sanctions on these nations. This is what. So you want to talk to me about Iran's economy, right? Which literally the dollar just collapsed not that long ago over the Iranian currency. But this is all as a result of sanctions. This is all as a result of Israel and the USA trying to destabilize the region in order to cause civil unrest.
DJK, are you completely forgetting the fact that Islamic fanatics overthrew the original government?
No, I'm not.
So
Oh, go ahead, Smith.
yeah. Real quick. Give me 1 second, Red Man. I'm gonna hold that question. Let me get Brian's perspective. Brian, do you think the U.S. should militarily intervene in Iran?
No, but unfortunately, it's going to happen anyway because Trump, like he did in his first term, he likes to up the ante or increase conflict, making things worse around the world. Even though they ran a campaign, against that. But it's just weird that Red like. So your claim is that they're doing this because they want to liberate people. It's just kind of contradictory when at the beginning of last year, they defunded and canceled out US aid that was meant to help people around the world. And the result of that was hundreds of thousands of people across the world in countries like the one you want to liberate have been unalived. So people have been starved to unalivement. Babies were unable to get medicine, and innocent people, children, men, women have been unalived. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, why do we care about this now? Or at least in the government, like the Trump administration. Why do they care about this now?
I don't know.
response,
Probably
Red Man.
because
Go
they're
ahead.
protesting and their people are being unalived. Uncivilly
Okay, but did you just hear what I said?
against their rights.
No. But you just hear what I just said, because earlier you said that we don't unalive people here. When that's not true. Whether it's indirectly or directly, we do. Like we
Like
just
Tiananmen-
cut
like Tiananmen Square.
we just cut funding to Medicare, and that's going to inevitably
Oh my
lead to
God.
people unaliving. Like, did you know hundreds of thousands of people in America unalive every day due to lack of or no health care at all?
Yeah,
Don't you
that's
think
what you
that's a
get for
result
being
of
not
government
native.
policy?
That's what you get for being not native.
No, sir. I'm
Yeah,
talking.
yeah.
I'm strictly talking about Americans. I'm talking
Yeah,
about Americans.
Native Americans. That's what you get for not being Native American. I'm sorry to say.
What? What are you talking? Wait, I'm confused. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Native Americans get free healthcare. Did you know that?
Oh, I don't even think. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, you're saying, Medicaid. That's
Okay.
what you get
So
for being a colonizer,
so real
for being
quick,
in a place you don't belong.
I think
I'm an indigenous person. I'm an indigenous person. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, because
Like-
you're half white. You're a half white indigenous person. Sorry to say.
Sir, you look like me. You look like me.
I do not look like you. You have a big
Yes,
ass
you
forehead,
do.
sir.
Okay, hold on. We're going off topic. Hold on, real quick. Let me just make an announcement real quick. So what we're gonna do today, again, I kind of want to have it be a little bit more, make points about if you're for or against. We're gonna run this probably for another 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna shift over to Keith Porter and talk about that. But I do want to give folks' perspective on this because, again, this just came through on over the wire. And so if there's somebody else that wants to come up and feels like they have an opinion that has not been shared by the four panelists that are already up here, let me know. If you're in the request, I'll try to let you up. But let me go back. Oh, real quick, Ronnie. Let me go back to something Redman said. Again, since, I feel like we got three that are not in support of this military intervention and one is. And so to the three people, again, this is for the people that maybe have not heard this from your perspective. What Redman's argument was, hey, people are fighting for their liberation. Why shouldn't the U.S. help those people that are fighting for their liberation? Ronnie, you want to take that, and then DJK and Brian, if y'all want to take
Can you
that.
repeat that one? Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, but Redman's argument was, hey, these people are fighting for their liberation. Why shouldn't the U.S. jump in and help those people?
I mean, if they're fighting for their liberation, they don't need America's help. No one needs America's help to fight for. Don't interrupt me. No one needs America's help to fight for liberation for their own people, right? Unless they have a distinct leader of their movement fighting for liberation, asking for America's help. America shouldn't intervene and insert itself in politics that we are not being asked to be inserted into. Now, there was something that I wanted to address earlier that he had said, if that's fine.
Go ahead.
He had mentioned something about gay people being thrown off roofs and some other inflammatory remarks regarding members of the LGBT community in Iran. If you cared, Redman, so much about the LGBTQIA plus community, whether it's here in the United States or in Iran or anywhere else, why don't you focus on the issues that America is facing at the hands of the Trump administration, taking the rights away from trans Americans, from queer Americans, from intersex Americans? Because right now, according to the genocide scholarship, the Lemkin Institute for Genocide Studies, the United States are in the early stages of committing genocide against trans people in the United States. Why don't you focus on that instead of worrying about LGBTQIA plus members in another country?
Well, you don't know. My personal opinion is that trans people are just people with mental illnesses and have a porn addiction. That's what they are.
Okay, there we go. So
Okay, so this
I don't have a problem with gay people.
so
I
this
don't have a
low life
problem with
pet
trans
doesn't
men, boys,
actually
lesbians. I don't have a problem with them. I just have a problem with who think.
Yeah, no, not at all. Never on this panel.
So, Smitty, can I answer your question? Can I just respond to the
Yeah. Go
question you
ahead.
posed? So
That's
I find it
wild.
very, yeah, it is wild, bro. This is what we're dealing with. So I find it very disingenuous, right, when people come up and say that the United States are trying to go and liberate the people, right? If that's the case, if they were looking for the liberation of people, then why are they funding the G-side and HCOS that's happening in Palestine? And why are they not helping Palestinians liberate themselves, right? The U.S. continues to go into this. They use this rhetoric all the time, right? We are the beacon of freedom and democracy. We are the leaders of human rights. Meanwhile, freedom and democracy is all the smokescreen. It's a farce. Specifically here in the United States of America. And then when it comes to the human rights, right, being the leaders of human rights in the world, actually, they are the leaders of human rights violations, right? Never forget that Israel and the USA are the only two that voted against food being a basic right at the UN, right? Again, US and Israel were the only two that voted against food being a basic human right. So yeah, I don't buy this where they're going to liberate people. It's about really, honestly, just following the masters, right? Israel is the master. We continue to allow them to dictate our foreign policy. We allow them to send our sons and daughters into wars, all for Israel's benefit, and that's really what it comes down to, Smitty. And on that note, brother, I'm gonna drop down. I have some errands to run with my wife, brother. Thanks for the panel, Smitty. Y'all have a great day, all right? You want to drop me down?
Okay, I got you.
Take it easy.
Yeah. All right. Let me go to the new panelist, Kaza. Kaza, what is your opinion? Do you think the United States should intervene militarily in Iran? What do you think?
Oh, hello.
Yes. Hello.
It's all happened before throughout history. And in my opinion, governments have done this before. It's like history repeating itself.
Okay. So you feel like this will definitely happen again? You feel like the United States will?
Oh yeah, it's going to happen again. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's all been planned. It's all been planned. It's all coming to a head. And, yeah, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming up. I'm gonna let you down. Thank you. I appreciate your opinion. All right, we're gonna let Kaza go. Let's go to Danny Lou. Danny Lou, what is your thoughts? Your opinion? Should the United States intervene in Iran? What do you think?
100% yes.
Okay. And why do you say that?
Yeah. Why is that? Because you have a nation here that's been oppressed for decades now, and they are crying out, literally crying out to get some help from the outside because they cannot do it by themselves. They have no pew-pews. They have no instruments, let's call it that way, in order to deal with this horrible regime, which is extremely violent. Just in the past 48 hours, 2,000 protesters were unalived.
Oh,
If you
wow.
do the math, if you do the math and you multiply that by, let's say, 2 years, what's the number you get? Okay. It makes Gaza look like a kindergarten. Okay. But I don't see the same energy out there. I don't see the same campus energy, not in Columbia, not in Harvard, not in Boston, not anywhere do I see protests trying to help the Iranian people. Why is that? Why is there so many protests for what's had gone on in that part of the Middle East, Israel, Palestine, but there is none of that energy happening for Iran. These poor people, they just want to be free.
Okay. So you feel like there's a disparity between the attention being put on Iran versus Palestine. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's do this. Let's take what you said in two parts. First, Brian, if you want to jump in, if you want to rebut, if you have or not, what Daniel said,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm gonna just say, just like the person that was just dropped, these people don't actually care about freeing anybody. They're just, have selective outrage or picking and choosing what country to care about because our president is deciding to take military action this week. It's just weird. Like, Congo needs help, Sudan needs help, Nicaragua needs help. I can name so many other countries. Yemen needs help. So are they going to be on the docket very soon? Are we just going to pick a country of the week where we're going to destabilize or help? So where does it stop? Like, I'm confused.
Okay.
So let me help you be unconfused. Is Nigeria right now a direct threat to the US?
No.
Is Iran a direct threat to the US?
No.
Yes. Well, I mean, if it is, it's because Trump made it worse.
No.
I didn't ask why. I'm asking a very simple question. Did Iran declare?
I just answered your question.
Could you let me talk, please? The woman above me.
No.
You don't want to let me talk.
Okay.
That's who you are.
Let's do this.
The kind of
Real quick. Danny,
you're
let me
let when it comes to other people, but you're very selective in being humanitarian, and there is no such thing. Either you're humanitarian and you're humanitarian for everyone.
So don't try and twist the question. I just asked you.
So real quick, y'all. Real quick. Give me 1 second. Daniel, give me 1 second. Yeah, Daniel. Let me let Daniel finish his point, and then I'm gonna bring Panda in. Go ahead, Daniel. Go ahead, and then I'm gonna bring Panda in.
I just want to know who of the people on this panel have participated in freedom marches to free Gaza.
I'm a Black American woman, sir.
I didn't ask what color you are. I asked, did you participate?
So real quick, y'all. Let me let Panda answer your question, Daniel, about Iran, and then we'll continue discussion.
Because you know what it has to do with my color, because unfortunately you Israelis don't understand intersectionality. It has to do with my color because when I wake up every morning and I look in the mirror, I recognize that the same things that me and my ancestors went through because of white nationalism and white supremacy is exactly now what Palestinian people are going through. So I'm just really confused as to why you don't. No, I'm not confused. I know why you don't understand that, because you're an Israeli. Again, I think what's happening in Gaza is horrible, and I know that you're going to try to flip that and do the whatever script you have in front of you that the Zionists told you to say or do, and I know that flips you out and that freaks you out. Iran, I don't wake up in the morning concerned about what Iran is going to do to me. I wake up every morning and wonder what these white men and what Zionists are out here doing and to the world. Yeah, that's concerning to me, but not Iran.
Okay. Let me let Daniel. Go ahead, Daniel. Your response, and then I want to go to Erica. Go ahead. Give me the opportunity. Go ahead.
So, to be quite honest with you, host, I'm shocked. I really am shocked. A Black woman who dares to call me white. She never met me. She never saw me. She doesn't know who I am. Okay. She dares to call all the Zionist white people. She doesn't know what color skin Zionists have. Zionists don't have a specific color. Zionists are black, are white, are yellow, are, all the colors of the world. Zionist, is some kind of an ideology. It's not a skin color, number one. Number two, the Palestinians were not brought from Africa as slaves to the Middle East by the Israelis or by the Zionists. So don't
No, they
even
were
compare
already
what they
there. They were
don't
already there.
compare.
They were already
Don't
there.
compare.
They're
So if they were
indigenous.
already
They were
there,
already
so
there.
already it's not
They're
comparable to your
Levant blood. They were
Okay,
situation.
already there.
let's do the show. Let's
So
do this real quick,
okay, and the
Okay, all right, so
last but not just one last thing,
okay,
Okay,
Mr.
go
we
ahead,
have
and
Host.
then I want to
Okay,
go to Erica.
Smitty.
one last thing. I am shocked that she can stand up here in a panel in front of 450 people and say that she doesn't give a flying F of what's happening in Iran.
No,
That
I do
shocks me.
care. I care
What
that
kind of a
America is trying
humanitarian
to
are
do a
you? So
proxy
why don't you
government and
walk
trying
out to the
to.
street right now and
Okay,
start
hold on.
protesting?
Let me. Okay, so let me. So Daniel, let me let Panda respond to that last point, and then I'm going to go up to Erica and Carolina. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Panda,
So,
if you want to respond to that.
yeah, my labor as a black woman is none of your fucking business. First of all, you don't get to dictate how I use my labor as a black woman, and I know that makes you angry. I know, but again, that's a you problem, not a me problem. Second of all, if you're not white, what are you? What are you? What's your race? I think you're mixing ethnicity and race up and don't know that. So I would advise you to go back and maybe read books on race and ethnicity and understand how that works. Thirdly, I don't care what color a Zionist is. Please don't bring that around me. Ooh, gross. And last but not least, I'm not concerned with Iran. I don't think they're a danger to me. I think we're more of a danger to Iran and their people and the rest of the world. So I just want to make that very clear. And why I'm not out protesting, you don't know what I'm doing. And again, what I do with my labor as a black woman is none of your business. Why don't you go out and join the military and fight for the cause that you care so much about? But you're not going to do that because you're a coward and you stand behind a screen perpetrating Islamophobia, and you're like to say that Palestinians were not brought from Africa. I'm glad that you made that point. I'm glad that as a Zionist you admitted that Palestinians were not brought from anywhere. They were always there. So I just want to say that, Smitty. I'm glad at least
Okay.
that he admitted that part, and we are, in agreement to that. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you, Panda. I did see that there was a couple of folks from Iran that said that they are concerned about what's going on in Iran. Certainly, if you're from Iran or you are here in America and you're you have descendancy from Iran, please feel free to request. We'd love to hear your perspective. Absolutely want to give you an opportunity to speak. Let me go to Erica. Erica, good morning, fam. How are you? What are your thoughts on this situation, this potential situation that Donald Trump is talking about with military intervention?
Stay out of it. But good morning, everyone. I wanted two things. The first thing is that, what is it called? Because Hector and I talked about this yesterday with someone. It's the Group for Analyzing and Measuring Attitudes in Iran, GAMAAN. They're like the most known surveyor in the country, and they go over like all of the provinces. They did a study, a survey after the 12 Days War. They conducted it in September, released it in November, and they interviewed over 30,000 people. And in doing so, these people were 15 years old and older. And the sentiment is that the Iranian people don't mind the U.S. like intervening diplomatically, so like coming to the table and having the conversations. So that's what the majority want, but only 18% think that they should like intervene militarily. So it's a small number of people who want the U.S. to actually come into the country and do those things. Now, again, this is based off of that survey. This isn't my wheelhouse, but I just wanted to put that out there. The other thing I wanted to say, just as a mod, please, 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 I know that passions are high, but can we stop over talking? Please allow the other person to just finish their statement and then Smitty will direct who can respond, and just respect his space because Smitty doesn't do the over talking thing. So
I appreciate that.
yeah, it's just please, because Smitty, I understand why you don't give me super mod powers. I get it. I understand. You know that I will
Oh,
abuse
that
them.
may be coming soon, though. That may be coming soon. Let me go to Carolina. Thank you,
But
Eric. Oh, was there anything
of
else you want
course,
to say? Was
no
that it?
sir, no sir. I'm gonna drop down to make
Okay.
room, but that's all I wanted to say. But thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
All right. Thank you,
Love
Erica, as always,
Erica.
fam. Good to have
Hi,
you up.
Carolina.
All right, Carolina, what are your thoughts? Should the U.S. intervene militarily in Iran? What do you think?
100% no. I mean, it's just interesting to me that the United States can never mind its fucking business. Sorry. I know it's Sunday, y'all. And good morning. But I think what's interesting is that this always gets framed as freeing a country, like we saw with like Venezuela or whatever. And we need to remind everybody that the United States impetus for entering into conflict with other nations has never, ever, ever been to benefit the people of that country. It's always been for self-serving interests. But with this particularly, what like I want to like frame this of like why Trump is claiming he was wanting to get involved. And so at the beginning of the year, like we saw protests breaking out, and this is largely due to the inflation and the currency collapse that's going on over there. And you see a lot of it coming from business owners, merchants, and like students. And then we see that there have been, some unalivings due to clashes with the authorities. After the reports of like one unaliving, Trump was already sitting there saying like, oh, if Iran's going to quote unquote violently unalive peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States should come to their rescue. I am so sorry, but what has been happening in this country for the past year? What just happened last week? Like, I mean, the cognitive dissonance is at a level of 1,000.
Let me ask you a quick question, Carolina, because from Jen. Jen says, so let's allow the IRGC to slaughter their own people. What do you think about that? What do you say to those and Danny Lou said there were, thousands of people that have been unalived. What do you say to those points? Say, hey, you know what? Somebody's got to step in. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would like a source on the thousands number because I've yet to see something that equates to that outside of right-wing media. But I'll just point out that Jen has been in here the past few days defending the ICE agent who unalived that woman, has been silent on ICE agents unaliving other women. These people aren't saying anything when authorities are unaliving black men in the street. So I just find that, again, I think it's disingenuous. I think it's a level of cognitive dissonance that is astounding because while that is concerning, we are currently living under state-sanctioned violence here. So why is nobody rising up? Why are they not willing to rise up here? Why are they not sending out SOS signals to other countries to invade the US and do something about what's happening to our citizens? And that's where I feel like it's not a genuine conversation. Like, this is just people wanting to be the world police. As Panda stated, there's a high level of Islamophobia. There's just this issue of there have been protesters unalived in other cities that are, other countries that are predominantly white, and Western. And yet nobody is making statements about those. Yet when it comes to Venezuela, a predominantly black and brown socialist country, or Iran, a Middle Eastern Muslim country, then all of a sudden we're the world's police. We got to come save everybody. We can't even save ourselves. So I think it's just ridiculous to even say that.
Okay. All right. Let me do this. If there's somebody that does agree with Danny Lou that is in the request, I want to get you up. Obviously, if there's some Iranians, I would love to get you up to have you weigh in on this situation. Okay. Something that I think a lot of folks in America certainly are not the most educated on. So that's what I'm trying to do, is educate people, give people both sides on this situation, and see what people
I also think Danny Lou should answer Panda's question, since he wanted to tell her he doesn't care that she's a black woman, and he's like, we're assuming he's white. I mean, just tell us what your race and ethnicity is. Like, you say you're Israeli, but like, how do you racially identify? I don't think that should be a problem for you, since you want to make it a big deal that you claim we're insinuating.
Daniel, if you would like to respond, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I said is that I don't see how skin color has anything to do with this conversation, She did not identify as an Afro-American. She identified as a black person. A black person could be anyone. Could be someone who just landed yesterday on the ground of the American soil. It could be someone whose ancestors were slaves. It could be anyone. Okay, it's just a black person, just like I am an olive person. But
Sir, there are there are 5 races. Hold on, let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you, Danny Lou, real quick. There are 5. Wait, this isn't about skin color.
I could be your father. I don't think I need help.
One second, I'm going to make it quick. This isn't about skin color. There are 5 races. There's black, white, Amerindian, Asian, and Pacific Islander. This is not about skin color. It's about race. So olive is not a race. Which one of those do you fall into of those 5 options?
Again, I do not recognize those 5.
He's white, sis.
Races
so white.
you describe.
Okay. All right.
Smitty, can I just say one thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Panda. Let's let Panda get in and then run. Go ahead.
That I'm a black American woman. The problem is that your white ears just heard black because you're a racist POS Zionist.
Well, let me ask you something. First of all, why do you keep calling me a Zionist and all those words in a derogatory way?
Because you are.
Are you like an
being a Zionist is gross.
Are you anti-Semitic? Are you a Nazi?
Zionism has nothing to do with Semitism.
Yeah. So we just have to be so real quick. We just have to be careful with certain words on the app. Okay.
I apologize.
No. You okay? Not a problem.
Friends.
Zionism and Judaism are 2 separate things, sir. But go ahead.
Do you know that the Jewish people and the Zionist people are the people who marched
I don't tokenize any of my friends that are part of marginalized.
Okay, hold on, real quick.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, I'll go on mute.
Martin Luther King.
Thank you.
Jewish people and Zionists have marched with Martin Luther King. We have always been there for black people. My father, who's a South African, okay? My father helped the black people in South Africa to the point where he was kicked out with only the shirt on his back. So don't teach me about who's on whose side and what a Zionist is or isn't.
Okay. All right, let's do the show. Let me go down to Ronnie. Ronnie wants to come in, and I do want to let a new panelist up. Go ahead, Ronnie. Your response. I do want to bring it back to the topic though about military intervention into Iran. So please, let's do that. Go ahead.
The amount of fatigue that I get listening to this guy, because I've been listening to him for almost 2 years, over 2 years now, spewing his BS. He mentioned something earlier in regards to the protests. Why aren't Americans protesting, free Iran? Why aren't Americans giving in the same energy the way that we did for Palestine? And I think Panda did a really good job explaining why, simply because Palestinians are being oppressed by the Israelis, and Palestinians in Gaza specifically are being slaughtered. And I know that there are protests right now in Iran, but I want to bring a source really quickly. If you can put me on big screen, this is directly from Israeli media, right? This is from, I'm just trying to find the green screen. There we go. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Mossad spurs Iran protests, okay? It says, according to a Mossad agent. Basically, Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, is pushing all of these protests that are anti-Iranian regime, anti-Iranian government. And he really wants us who support Palestine, okay, Palestinian Americans, Black Americans, Indigenous Americans, anyone that supports the Palestinian cause, he is expecting them to protest against the Iranian government in favor of what the Mossad is pushing. Why are we going to take the side of the Israelis? It's very disingenuous because he knows exactly what he's doing. We're not Zionists. We're not going to fall for Israeli propaganda simply because you think you have this delusional ideology, okay, that Iranians need to be free. And obviously the Israelis are intervening because Israelis want to destabilize the region more than they already have. They have no business in Iran. They have no business destabilizing the Iranian government. If the Iranians were not such a threat, then you wouldn't intervene. But obviously, because the Iranians have some bit of power, you guys don't want that. You want the Americans to control and do your dirty work for you. So, no, don't sit here. And also, there's someone in the comments saying, as an Iranian, I support my government. Maybe you can get an Iranian who supports the Iranian government up here, because I think their voice would be really good.
Yeah, I would let any Iranian that wants to come up, and either way, whoever wants to come up from Iran to speak on this, that'd be great. Brian, anything else you want to say, bro? I want to give you an opportunity.
So just going back to, again, this claim that Trump supporters, or I guess if you are defending Trump intervening, they claim to care about human suffering now. So again, what happened? Why didn't they care about the U.S. aid being withheld that led to hundreds of thousands of innocent people around the world unaliving due to lack of food or medicine? What about the hundreds of undocumented people that have been sent to CCOT in El Salvador or in other foreign prisons who are suffering as we speak? Are they going to be liberated by this administration, even though they were the cause of it? When will that happen, Danny Lou?
Yeah. So, Brian, you and the rest of the panel have been describing distress all over the world. Okay, El Salvador, Nigeria, Yemen, Iran, obviously, and some other places. And I keep going back to asking the same
hold on,
question.
hold on, real quick. Hold on. I want to clarify something. I want to wait. I want to clarify something because I know. But let me just clarify something.
Over you, did I?
Brian, I just want to clarify something. I want to clarify.
Real quick. Let me just. I think I know where you're going to go, but let me let him finish, and then Brian, I'll give you another opportunity. Go ahead, Danny. Go ahead and ask questions.
If I can finish my line of thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay?
Go ahead.
My line of thought and my question, and I've been asking this on the panel since I came up, is why are there so many protests that are standing behind Palestine? And I'm not saying that these protests are not legitimate, okay? Let's assume that I'm for these protests. Maybe I'm very left-wing and I'm actually pro-Palestinian. You don't know that. You don't know who I am, okay? But I still would like to ask the question, why do we not see protests for the people, as you say, in Nicaragua, in Nigeria, in Sudan, in Yemen, even in China, you have Muslims that are being unalived and oppressed. Of course, in Iran. The question is, why, when it comes to Jews, there's so much negative energy, but when it's Arabs against Arabs, or other people oppressing other people, there is no energy on the street.
Okay.
No protests, no campuses, no nothing.
Okay, let me do this. Let me let Brian, since that was directed to Brian, let me let Brian answer that question, and then we'll go to Panda.
With his language too, Smitty, because even though you would think that's not a word that gets flagged, it does on this app.
Oh, okay.
So y'all got to be careful with these words.
Okay. So I'm gonna let absolutely. I'm gonna let Brian answer the question, and then I do want to bring it back to the military intervention into Iran. So
Danny Luce, please spare me your fake concerns or your fake outrage. So again, what I asked you is what specifically the White House, the Trump administration, has done to make human suffering increase. Again, I'm going to ask you, when are we going to care about the people who we cut off aid from, like in many countries you're claiming to cry about, and the many, many undocumented people we have sent to these foreign prisons? Again, sir, this is from the suffering directly caused by this administration. So please answer that. And if you don't know, you can just say that.
Yeah, so I don't buy your fake concern. Okay, I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth.
Okay, don't care. Just answer my question.
This goes in two directions, because that's pretty much what you said about me. That you disregarded my feelings, and that's something that I cannot accept. Okay, you do not know what I feel, and if you decide not to believe what I say that I feel, so you know what? F you. I don't believe a word that you say. That's number one. Number two, you did not answer my question, and no one did answer my question. Why are there not people on the streets worldwide right now trying to help these poor Iranian people? You did not answer that question.
I answered the question.
Neither did anyone else.
Misinformation. I answered the question earlier, and Panda also answered the question earlier. And it's because I explained the protests that are happening anti-Iranian government on the ground in Iran are mainly fueled and pushed by Mossad and us as pro-Palestinians that protested in the streets in the United States, throughout the United States and throughout the world. We're not falling for Mossad and Israeli propaganda. Don't sit here on this panel, gaslight us into thinking that we did not answer your question when you know damn well that we answered your question. We are not Israeli propagandists. We're not going to fall for the bullshit that you're spewing. Okay.
Let me let Panda come in.
Wait. One second. Finally, I got an answer. Let me just see if I understood the answer.
Clean your ears.
Because he believes that what's happening in Iran is a conspiracy ran by the Mossad. Therefore, the pro-Palestinians who are obviously against the Mossad are not protesting for Iran. I mean, how inhumane, how dumb to the suffering can you be for people, millions, 92 million people who are suffering under a terrible regime, and what you have to say is, oh, I don't care because this is a Zionist-driven issue. It's not a Zionist-driven issue. If there's any Mossad agent on the ground, it's because we help the people that need help, unlike you, something that you're not doing. But to say I'm not going to help these people,
real quick.
Yeah, just
okay,
real
quick. Hold on, Ronnie. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Because I did promise Panda time, and so Panda, definitely feel free to jump in. I and this is just a small number, but I'm not gonna lie. It does seem like the Iranians in the comments they do seem to be supporting what Danny Lou was saying. That's a small, tiny little number. I'm just saying from what I can see. But go ahead, Panda.
So I think you're misunderstanding support for imperialism. Like, we can support Iranians without trying to put a proxy government in place, because the last time we tried to put a proxy government in place in Iran, I think the world knows, if you paid any attention to history class, what happened. I mean, we're not going to talk about the Iran-Contra deal that ended up pushing metric tons of sugar booger into Black communities and affected Black communities for decades to come, because of our obsession with the military pipeline and being imperialist and trying to dictate what countries do. So I think that you can show support for countries without having this need to invade them and put your military into their country. So I'm just so confused about that. Also, as Ronnie said, I think it's really funny that, like, you're forgetting bits of history. Like, why would I go out and fight for and be a proxy for Mossad when Mossad is literally the reason why we had the destruction of the American embassy in Lebanon, because they knew it was happening. They knew it was going to happen. It happened to them, and they lied about it and kept it a secret and said that it was a gas leak, and they knew it was coming. And in that process, we lost a very important ambassador in that process, and a lot of American lives were lost because our so-called allies decided to keep their mouth shut because they wanted it to happen. So then we would get into a fight and continue our imperialism of Lebanon. So I just think it's funny that you're over here forgetting just cold hard facts about the relationship, of the fact that CIA doesn't even like working with Mossad because Mossad is so dishonest. Like, you can't trust them. I'm confused. What do you want me to do? You want me to be a Mossad agent? Because that's not happening.
Okay. Thank you, Panda. Real quick, Daniel, and then I want to go to Carolina. Go ahead, real quick. Your response.
Okay, I'll try and be quick. Listen, I really don't know what to make out of this woman. This is insensitivity in such a high level. I mean, she has no heart, this woman. She does not care about the Iranian people. She does not care about her own people who have been unalived in Lebanon by the Hezbollah themselves, okay, not by the Mossad. She'll be willing to lie, make up stories, change history, bring up a narrative that never happened, anything just to make Israelis or Zionists look bad. She will not give effing flying F about anyone else but herself and her interest, okay? There are people right now in Iran that are effing starving. They are going online through satellite and they are begging for Israel and for the United States and for the rest of the world to step in. And the only thing you care about is, are the Israelis lying or not lying? Are they involved or not involved? What's happening in Iran is real. But you sit in your comfortable chair in the United States. You've never been in a war. You've never fought. You've never done anything, in fact, okay? And you have the nerve to come up here and lecture me? Shame on you. Shame on people like you.
So
So
go
Schmitty, I
protest.
gotta drop.
Yep. Okay.
But can I just say one thing?
Yeah, of
I'm a
course. Of
Black
course.
American woman. I
Go,
wake up
Panda.
every day in apartheid, and I wake up every day in an ongoing war. So for you to say that I sit comfortably, I don't. My existence every day when I wake up, and I'm a biracial Black woman, so I have it easier than other people in my community. So that could just tell you what we go through. So I just find that's really, really weird that you don't understand that. So I don't know if you know this, but there's an ongoing apartheid that's been going on for 600 years in America, and it's happening to Black Americans and Indigenous people. So why would I want that to happen to any other group in the world? And why would I want to unleash my oppressors, which is my American government, onto anybody in the world, knowing that they lie, they cheat, they make treaties, they don't abide by those treaties. And why would I unleash the very government that taught Schmittler his Nuremberg laws and taught Schmittler how to do what he did based off of Jim Crow? Why would I unleash that on anybody? So again, I care about the Iranian people. And I also know as a Black woman that unleashing the American government on them is just going to make their situation worse. Thank you for having me, Schmitty.
All right. Thanks, Panda. Thanks for coming up. Okay. Let me go to Carolina and then we'll go to James.
Yeah, I think this is like kind of getting like really irritating, and I don't know if everybody caught it, but he let it slip. He said we a couple of times when referring to Zionists and those who follow Mossad. He said we. So I just wanted to point that out. But I echo what Panda said. Like this idea that people will assume that because we are United States citizens that we have like this comfortability, and to a certain degree that is accurate, right? But for the majority, when you say that to people like us who are indigenous or Black, to sit here and say that we have this level of comfortability and that we don't understand what WAR is, we are living in an ongoing WAR. My people's land has been occupied for more than 500 years by the colonizers. We have the lowest life expectancy in the country as a result. We have the highest rates of poverty. There are people starving in this country. So that's why I think that Brian and Ronnie were pointing out about this faux outrage. Like, Trump does not care about Iranian people. I don't know how we have to make it more clear to any of you. He does not care about Venezuelan people. The impetus for regime change and intervention has never been to benefit the people of those countries. And we can just look at every country within the past couple of decades as an example. Iraq, Afghanistan, Nicaragua, Chile, Panama, now Venezuela, Guatemala, Libya, none of these countries have been left better off as a result of U.S. intervention. So when you sit here and say we don't care about the Iranian people, don't sit here and tell me that the United States government does either. That's insane. My heart goes out to all oppressed people. But that means that when the U.S. comes in for their own benefit, and I just explained it to you, the whole speech that he gave about why he was going to be looking at Iran was because of the protester unalivings, but they're not addressing what's happening in this country. And Danny Lou, you keep sidestepping that. If you I could easily sit here and say you do not care about Black and brown people who are being unalived in this country, about United States citizens who are being unalived in this country. When Brian brought up CCOT, he wasn't talking about the conditions of the country in El Salvador. He's talking about our country sending people who are not from El Salvador to a torture center in that country. You did not address that. You sidestepped that. So if you're wanting all of us to take you seriously in this position, then you're going to need to listen to what we're actually saying up here. You don't care about the U.S. Americans suffering. You don't care about people of color suffering. So how are you going to convince us that you actually care about Iran and that this is not a Zionist, excuse that you're giving us?
Go ahead, Daniel, if you would like to respond, then I want to go to James.
Yeah, I think in our language we say that she has a chutzpah. Okay, chutzpah, she means it's just unbelievable. This spoiled brat, this ungrateful brat
First
who's
of
living in
all,
a country. I did not interrupt
Yeah,
interrupt you.
but Daniel, just let's not make personal
yeah,
attacks
because I'm gonna tell
and
you
on
what,
both
I'm
sides.
being
Okay.
very polite right now,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you gonna get me tight. And I'm gonna remind you,
yeah.
the internet will not always protect y'all. I'm not the one. Keep it
Okay.
I didn't
motherfucking
say
cute.
anything that the internet cannot observe. I said brat. Brat is not something that a life comes down for.
You just called
Especially
an
No,
indigenous
I know,
woman.
but so
You
real
just
real
called
quick,
an
real quick,
indigenous
Okay.
woman a
Now
spoiled
real
you
quick.
brat.
Hold on, y'all.
you
Real
brought up
quick.
personal
Real.
because you refer to yourself in a very personal way, saying how you, because you're a woman of color or
I'm an
because you're a Native
indigenous woman on
American,
occupied
you are
land.
going through something that's even similar to what the Iranians are going through.
Oh
You
my
are so
God.
spoiled. You do not know how good you have it. You have never been to the Middle East. You have never been to Iran. You have never been to a real war. To dare come out here
How many
when you live in a
Palestinians have you
democracy,
killed?
that ICE person who unalived that woman, he will stand for trial and he will go to jail if found guilty. That's the difference between a democracy and a place in Iran where all the people from the regime unaliving their own people will never stand in court. They will never stand in court because they don't even have these courts. It's not a democracy. You have no idea where you're living. And you know what my suggestion is? Not for you, but for the other person that was here before that she also did not like the country that she's living in. You unappreciative person, just leave to wherever you came from.
I'm going to say one
Okay.
thing. I'm going to say one thing, and then we can go to the next person because I'm going to say this. The audacity of your colonizer ass to tell me, an indigenous woman on my land that is occupied by colonizers, to go somewhere else. It's my fucking land. You are a disgusting human being for that, and I'm
And
going
who
to
do
be
you
quiet.
think the land belongs
Okay.
to in Israel?
Okay.
Who do you
Okay.
think the
Hold
indigenous
on,
people in
hold on,
Israel
real
are?
quick.
You ignorant,
Okay.
ignorant person.
Hold on. Then if y'all can go on mute, okay. Again, let's end it with the personal attacks on both sides. All right. That's the last warning. Okay. Let's end it with the personal attacks. Let me go to James, and then we're gonna go to the next panelist, and then the show. Go ahead, James.
Oh my. Good morning.
Good
Smitty, good to
morning.
see you. So there are estimates that about 120 and upwards of that thousand people in Gaza have been unalived by Israel. And in that region, we could suspect that if we go into Iran, that invites Israel into Iran. So we need to not be involved at all in what is going on in Iran. The people there have the right to self-determination, and they have taken to the streets in that regard. And we need to give them the right to do that. So, Smitty, to the main point, I want to say, like, we should not be engaging in military intervention in Iran, nor should we be involved in regime change in Venezuela. With that being said, I want to remind everybody, because I just heard a comment that struck a chord with me, that religious texts are not property deeds. So I don't care that you think that you were promised something by someone thousands of years ago. It ain't my business. The people that live on the land deserve the right to exist on their land. And then finally, and I'll land, Smitty, is I heard some invocation of Martin Luther King. And I find it wild that someone would come on this panel and try to emotionally extort the solidarity of Black people to their cause by invoking Martin Luther King and colonizing his memory. But I guess I could not expect anything different, because it's wild to me that a person would be so intellectually lazy that they believe that anyone owes them blind allegiance when they are perpetuating some of the most harmful behavior in the history of the world in Gaza. So, yeah, Danny Lou, I find myself amazed at the level of audacity that he has to come here and engage in misinformation and emotional extortion. It's just disgusting.
Okay. Thank you, James.
I
Go
would
ahead,
like
Dan.
to
Yeah, if
say
you,
something as well.
oh,
Yes,
yeah, real quick.
I'd like to
Yes,
respond.
no, give me 1 second.
Yeah, first
Uh,
of all,
yeah, got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
calling me intellectually lazy or something like that is a personal attack. I'm not going to do that back to you, although I have some thoughts about that for you. You as a black person, probably an African American, should really know your history a little bit better and know a little bit better about the Black Revolution and about Martin Luther King and about his relationship with Jewish people. You should know a little bit better about how the Jewish people were one of the ethnicities that helped the black people the most when they were oppressed, both in South Africa and in the United States. And shame on you for trying to reverse what I just said.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
real quick, 30 seconds
yeah,
if you want to, James, and then I want to
yeah.
go to Nura. I think Nura, I believe is how you pronounce your name. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So you and your shame can cram it. I don't care anything about your shame. Shame on you for being up here invoking colonizer language. Shame on you for trying to question me, a person with a degree in history and Black American history, to try to suggest to me that I don't know the finer points of history. I'm very well aware of them. I also read the text by Paul Fierro, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, where the oppressed take on the canons of the oppressor and utilize the same tactics that their oppressor used on them to marginalize other people. So rather than trying to be up here trying to lecture me on what I know about Black American history, I'd invite you to a textbook, The Pedagogy of Oppressed by Paul Fierro.
All right, thank you, James. Let me go. So real quick, Dan, that was kind of that's we're gonna cap it there. Let me let Nura come in. Is that how you pronounce your name, by the way?
Nora.
Nura. Okay, Nura, what would you like to share with us about what's going on in Iran?
So as an Iranian woman myself, and I'm also Azerbaijani from the Azerbaijan region of Iran, from Tabriz, right? My family that currently live there to this day, I don't have family in the USA, they all located in Iran. This whole propaganda that you guys are seeing on the West is being way too exaggerated. If you look up the population in Iran, you're going to see like millions of Iranians living in Iran, and these protesters are only 15,000 people. That's it. Or maybe 20,000 people that's protesting the streets. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I have footages posted on my TikTok. You guys are more welcome to look at my page. You guys are going to see T groups, ISIS, entering Iran and being weaponized. And there's also other footages of the Iranian people. I have footages as well. They were kissing the IRGC flag, and they said we lost too many martyrs during the revolution in 1979. And they said we're not going to give up our land for a Pahlavi. And this guy in this picture that I'm showing you guys right now, he's a Zionist. He's begging Israel. There's even Iranian Zionists in the West that are praising the fact that 12-day war happened, the fact that our children are getting unalived, those apartments getting boom down, and the fact that Tehranis had to evacuate their houses and move to other provinces of Iran. All of this is Mossad's work. If you look up videos on YouTube, you're going to see Israelis learning how to speak Farsi, learning how to pronounce our letters and speak Farsi songs. They're pretending to be Iranians to attack Iran. Israel's not our friend. I will never stand with Israel. And quite frankly, when I go back to Iran this summer, I'm going to ask my family themselves, what do they think about Iran right now? And I can guarantee you guys, they rather prefer Iran the way it is than to bow down to Zionism. The West, such as the United States, Europe, Canada, all over the West, they're sanctioning Iran and trying to manipulate our situation to make it look like, oh, look, everyone, the whole world's against the Iranian government, pack their bags and they gotta dip. That's not how it works. That's not how it's going to work.
Let me ask you a question, Nura, because you brought up that there are some that do, it sounds like you said a small percentage of people in Iran are actually protesting. Can you talk to us a little bit about, though, that it's a small percentage of protesting, but how many, just if you can, if you know, how many people in Iran, or what percentage of people in Iran support the protests and want the regime change? Do you have a feel as to how
I
many?
can't put a huge like estimate. Like I don't want to give
Okay.
misinformation. That's what I
Yeah,
don't
I
like. I'm
appreciate
going to
that.
be honest. I can't give misinformation. That's what I'm not going to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Like we're all going to be honest here, right? Like honesty is
Mm-hmm.
the key. But I'm going to tell you guys, these protesters, these people, they are burning down messages. They burn down the shrines of Prophet Muhammad's son. That's what's going on. And I have a footage of Iranians who are the citizens of Iran. They're even complaining, saying, okay, you guys can protest. That's fine. I get it. We have economic issues. But why are you guys burning down my own house, my own businesses? And who's going to pay for his rent? And I have a footage, if you guys would like me to show you, of an Iranian woman before the blackout has happened. She lives in Iran right now with a child. And she says, you guys should go back to your homes and not fall for the Western propaganda. You guys are being illiterates for thinking that the USA and Israel is your best friend when they're not our best friend. They're not.
Okay. Thank you, Nuda. Let me go to Nichelle, and then we'll go to Cubby.
Hey, everybody. And yes, I agree with Nora about being honest, and I'm so glad she's here to share her perspective. I came up here because of, I think it's Danny Lou, to kind of represent, not agree, but just kind of give a perspective on what the average American thinks. You know, when you were saying, why aren't there people out in the street? Why aren't there people doing this? Have you met the average American? Our literacy rate in this country is abysmal. Our political participation is abysmal. And I just wanted to offer some perspective about that, because I think when we talk about these things, Smitty, whether it's Venezuela, you know, Gaza, whatever, or Iran, what's going on, you know, Americans should definitely weigh in, because it's American administration that's proposing and doing these things. And then the American people who support or don't support. So just really quick, support overall, it depends on whether you're talking about the political class or whether you're talking about the average day, everyday American. The average everyday American, I'm sorry, is focused on skyrocketing childcare, the fact that they can't find jobs. They've been searching for jobs for months. They're really thinking more domestically. You saw that with Venezuela, like the search when Maduro was kidnapped or captured, or however you want to put it, on Saturday, dropped within 24 hours on Google search trends. That just shows you whether or not, you know, the average American is locked into this, and whether or not they're not going to be out here protesting when they can't afford food. But on the political class, Smitty, Republicans largely approve it, of course. Democrats overwhelmingly disapprove, and independents tend to lean toward disapproval. Everyone definitely does not want to see America get involved militarily. And then most average Americans, from polls that I see, think that what Trump is putting out on social media is just trumping Trump. So I just wanted to offer that perspective from the American side.
Okay. Thank you, Nichelle. Let me go to Cubby. Cubby fam, how are you? Hope you're doing well. What are your thoughts on should the U.S. get involved militarily in Iran?
Hi, Smitty. By the way, I'm doing really good. I hope you've been well as well.
Thank you.
No, so I'm not Iranian, right? So what I'm saying right now is not telling Iranian people how they should feel about their government. I think that absolutely nobody should tell any Iranian person how they should feel about their government, because I think like we don't have that experience that they share. Therefore, that's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the dangers in general to the overall region, right? And I feel like a lot of people are not focusing on the bigger picture of what America, the West, and its allies are doing. And they're actively redrawing the lines, right? I don't know if people are paying attention to the fact that we are literally on the brink of a new scramble for Africa and a new Sykes-Picot agreement. That is exactly what is happening currently. What is happening currently is America, the West, the UAE, and Israel are actively scrambling to redraw the lines in order to maximize their profit, basically to kind of maximize their profit harnessing. And that's what they're...
Hello?
Oh, we lost Cubby.
Or is it just Smitty?
Oh,
Oh, can y'all hear me?
no, yeah, we lost
Hello?
you.
Okay, so yeah. So what I was doing was, this is a colonial grab, okay? This is literally what it is. I would implore everybody to read the national security strategy that the Trump administration released in November of 2025. Within this national security strategy, they do actively on multiple instances talk about harnessing the resources. On the last page, they literally even talk about the African continent, right? So this is what it is. And I think the issue that I have here is, right, a lot of times in these conversations, I see maybe non-Iranians telling Iranians not to have grievances with their government, or to have grievances, or to be patriotic or not patriotic, and they're not focusing on the real thing. One thing I will say is, I don't think any non-Iranian person should be telling, the same way I don't think any non-Venezuelan person should be telling the people how they should feel about their government, because I wouldn't want an outsider to tell me how I feel about their government, right? About my government, right? But I think like we need to refocus the conversation around what are all these countries attempting to do? What is America attempting to do? What is Israel attempting to do? What is the UAE attempting to do? Why are they all of a sudden, all of them, interested in this whole region? And that is because we find ourselves in the middle of an economic war between the East and the West, and they're all playing chess. That's what it is, Smitty. This is just a big game of chess, and we are the chess pieces. They're literally playing chess with us. So they get into these countries where there's real grievances, real traumas, real issues, and instead of just leaving people to solve these issues for themselves, they keep escalating the issue, and then they keep coming in pretending as if they're saving people, but they're not. They're just actively playing chess. And I think this is where we need to focus on the purpose and the reason as to why these countries are doing this.
Okay. Thank you, Cubby. As I mentioned when I first started, I was going to run this live for about an hour, so it's been a little bit over that, about an hour and 20 or so. So I'm going to end this live. If you guys would like, I'm going to start a new live on Keith Porter and Renee Good and what's going on domestically. So if you would like to come back for that, I would love to have you.
Can I say one last thing before you end? I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So there are 624 people, 29 people here. Take a pen and a paper or use your phone. Write these things, okay? Number 1, the I2U2 group. I2U2 group, okay? This is a coalition that was created between the UAE, Israel, America, and India, okay? It was created in September of 2023, and a lot of these decisions that these countries are making, it can go back to the I2U2 group, right? Number 2, the IMEC, the Indian Middle East European Economic Corridor. This is also supposed to go very close to Iran as well, right? Number 3, the Belt and Road Initiative. And if you have these 3 things as a beginner, as a starter, and you look at the map of where these economic corridors are supposed to go through or where they're supposed to cross, a lot of things will start making sense. And it will kind of illustrate that this geopolitics at play, and it's an economic war between the East and the West, and this whole region, whether it is Western Asia, whether it is East Africa, this whole region, literally, we're just the chess pieces.
Thank you, Gabby.
One
Just
more
facts
thing.
want to come
This
up
is
really
the
quick.
shop. The Shah's wife. She's cheating on him, by the way, with a gym teacher. This is what they want Iranian leader to be. He's a Zionist, and the fact that he wants to control his government and like to control Iran, he can't even control his wife. So no, this is not going to happen.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Just Facts. real quick, and then I'm gonna reset the live, guys.
Smitty,
Okay, hey,
real quick,
Smitty.
are you doing it right next after this?
Yeah.
Like right. Okay, cool.
Hi, Smitty. Thanks for
Hey,
bringing
just
me up real quick. I
yeah.
know as an Iranian, I have to say something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just real quick. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm 100% against IRGC, but also I don't think having Shah's son to come back and reign is the right move. I just want to remind everyone the reason why we are facing the suppression for the past 40, 50 years is 100% because of Israel and USA. We wouldn't be in this fucked up position if it wasn't for the involvement of USA and Israel. So for the people that, that are chanting, oh, they want Reza to come back and take office and be in power, it's like they have amnesia. They forgot the only reason that we're in the position we are now is because of the involvement of the West and Israel. And, if you guys go on my page, you'll see like the Reza kissing the wall and bowing down to Israel. We don't need a Zionist in there. We don't need to go from one hell to another hell and then re-experience the same thing of imperialism and them trying to steal our goods. And, freaking Bibi has been trying to get back in Iran for the past 30 years, saying that they have NUKEs for the past 20, 30 years, and now that he has Trump in there and Reza to be his puppets, he's just like so excited. So if you guys are wondering why there is so much division amongst the Iranian community, is because of this. A lot of us don't want IRGC. I personally, when I was 19, I went back there for the summer and they freaking arrested me because I was, long story short, they arrested me. So I'm not a fan of IRGC. They can go to hell. But also I'm like, it's a very, very bad, weird position for a lot of us because we don't want the IRGC in there, but also we're very scared of what the alternative being provided is. So that's kind of a different perspective for everyone.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Just facts. All right, let me. I'm gonna end the live. I'll be right back to do a live on Keith Porter Jr. and Renee Good. So hopefully y'all will come back for that. Much love. So, see y'all. Much love. So,
Wonder why it didn't get the same coverage as Renee Good did. Now, again, you guys, this is just me seeing what I've seen. Don't come for me. But a lot of people are drawing the distinction because of the circumstances of the unaliving, right? But I still think we should talk about the circumstances of an off-duty person thinking that it's they've got the authority to do anything about him pew-pewing in the air like that. Like you said, that's a very common thing. I grew up in Ohio. I mean, I saw that all the time. You know what I mean, on New Year's Eve. But I think the bottom line is, and I'm also seeing some conversation about the phrase being used, say her name, right? They're starting to draw distinctions between how the public has reacted to Keith Porter being unalived and Renee Good. So I don't know. I'd love to hear what other people think about that, but that's the distinction that people are drawing, at least on the internet and like news articles, is that the circumstances were not the same. And again, don't come for me. That's just what I'm seeing online.
okay. Let's go to James. James, what are your thoughts? Why did most people only find out about Keith Porter after what happened in Minneapolis to Renee Good?
Thank you for having me back, Smitty. I always appreciate seeing your show, Cal and Michelle. It was good to see you last night as well.
Why you gotta say it like that though, James? You know what I'm saying? Why you gotta say it like that though?
Last night was just
I love you.
I love you. Because she's a white woman. Like, that's the answer. Because she's a white woman, and she did not deserve what happened to her. But people cared, and I did a video of this. I don't know if y'all saw it, but I talked about, and I'll give the brief history lesson. In 1961, we saw the Freedom Riders riding and them being brutalized, and the country did nothing. They tried to rationalize and say segregation was appropriate. In 1963, we had Birmingham, where we saw the national news covering Black people having hoses turned on them, the skin taken off their body, and dogs unleashed on them. Post that, we had 1965, Bloody Sunday, same kind of brutality. in Selma and them walking across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, just trying to march peacefully. And Dr. King called a set of pastors, clergy, to come out. And of that clergy, post that was James Reeb. And James Reeb in 1965 was beaten to unaliving by segregationists. He was a utilitarian, a minister. He was a minister. And what we saw was the White House then get invested in outrage, moral outrage from the moderate clergy because he was a white man. And in this moment, you cannot point to anything other than her being a white woman for the outrage that you're seeing. Well, the sort of outrage in juxtaposition to the 32 people that unalived in ICE custody and Porter, right? She did not deserve what happened to her. It was absolutely disgusting. But I think it is a reminder in this country that the valuation of life is placed on proximity to whiteness. And we see outrage happening in a way that we wouldn't see it. So I think when we look at those 32 names, and I posted them on my page, Smitty, like when we think about those 32 names and why we don't know those, I think it points to a more nefarious reason of how racism exists in this country. But I want to be clear, all 34 people unalived by ICE deserves to be alive, including Renee Good. But to answer your question, we didn't know about Keith Porter because he wasn't a white woman.
Okay. Thank you, James. We're going to go to Catalina. Same question. Why did, I know you can't, it's kind of partially blocked, so I'll read it. Why did most people only find out about Keith Porter after what happened in Minneapolis? Catalina, what are your thoughts?
I mean, hello, everybody. I agree with both Michelle and James. I mean, I do think that the main factor is that she's a white woman. I'm not going to ignore the fact that there's so much video footage that kind of made the situation a little bit more overwhelming. So I don't want to ignore that because I know people on the other side of the argument are going to act like we're, just dismissing it simply because she's white. And that's the only reason. No, I think both of those compounded make this an issue, but that's the main reason. And it wasn't, and I think also the nature of how Keith Porter was unalive, people are going to try to make the argument because he had a weapon, even though we know from all the sources that are there, this was a New Year's Eve celebration. This is something that's very common. Shoot, in my neighborhood, they do the same thing on New Year's. And so, you always are sitting there like, oh, are those fireworks or are those pew pew shots? Whatever, that's just what it is. But there are people who are going to try to make that argument. However, even with there being video footage, we've had video footage of other instances too, like with what happened with Silverio Gonzalez in Chicago. It wasn't as much video footage, but it did prove that the narrative that DHS was giving was false. And I think that does have to be taken into account because we have so many different angles of what happened to Renee. But bottom line, it is because she's white. It is because in this country, white suffering is something that is so unbearable for people on multiple sides, whether it's the right or the left. Even though the right is, working overtime to try to blame her on this one, they're also giving it that level of attention because how dare a white woman, be in support of immigrants or whatever the case may be. So I do think that that's a factor. And I agree with Michelle. As soon as as invested as I have been in this situation, hearing people do the say her name thing is really offensive, knowing that there was no issue of whether they were going to say her name or not. Her name was released the same day. It was being spread across news sources all across the country. Thank you. It was being spread across news sources all across the country, her name, her background, her biography, all of this. And we know that Black women do not get the same treatment. So I do think that is something that people need to be very cognizant of co-opting movements when drawing attention to an issue. And I agree with James, every single person who has been unalived by ICE deserves the attention and, reverence, but white privilege is 100% a factor. And I think I saw something from a mutual of mine saying that what's interesting in the case with Renee is white supremacy will give up white privilege in order to protect itself. And so that's something that should be taken into consideration with this too.
All right. Thank you, Catalina. Aisha, what are your thoughts? Why are we only hearing about Keith Porter now after what happened to Renee Good in Minneapolis?
Hey, panel. Hey, niece. She, because she's white. That's it.
Okay.
I don't have anything else to say.
Okay. No need to say anything else. That's fine with me. Okay. All right. Thank you, Aisha. Let me go to Covey. Covey, fam, same question. Why are people only hearing about Keith Porter Jr. after what happened to Renee Good in Minneapolis?
Because the economy is dependent on Black people dying. That will be my answer. The market is dependent on Black people dying, and therefore we live within societies that dehumanize Black people, and that that basically have made everybody apathetic towards the suffering of Black people, so that when they unalive Black people, people look away and they feel indifferent to it. It's very strategic, right? Because, like, if you don't understand why, like, why people are so, I don't know, so used to Black people dying, like, have people asked themselves that question? Like, why is society indifferent to Black people dying? Why is it okay that when a Black person dies, that people don't care? That's because if Black people stopped dying, the economy would collapse. Like, the global economy would collapse. That's why. And that's why people have normalized our death. People have normalized our suffering, because they know that the only way that civil society can continue functioning, the civil society that they have created today, by the way, can only continue functioning if we continue getting unalived.
Okay. Thank you, Covey. Sharianne, what are your thoughts? Good to have you on the panel. Why do you think people are just not hearing about Keith Porter? What do you think?
So yes, definitely race plays a great part in this, but I want you guys to also take into consideration that now we're seeing a white woman being dehumanized. Right? And let me say what I'm saying about this. Now we're hearing about the fact that she didn't have custody of her 2 kids, that all of this stuff is now going around. And we've been saying for years as Black people, look, this is the same thing they did to George Floyd, where they talked about his drug addiction and other things to dehumanize him, to make it look like it was okay to unalive him. Now they're doing it to her. So we need to juxtapose that and say, look, this is exactly what we've been saying all along. This has been happening to Black lives, and we've been telling you that it's going to come down to you. It's going to happen to you. So yes, it is because of race that we finally hearing about his life. But we need to also pay attention to the fact that they really don't care anymore, because even now they're starting to ask, what type of white are you? When you're doing like applications and stuff, what part of the world are you from? And this is just showing you how they're starting to thin the herd. I want to bring all this up, and I know a lot of this is not part of what you guys are discussing, but at some point it's going to be part of the discussion. I'm just saying. But thank you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. There was a comment that said, white women have always been unsafe in America. You guys have just ignored it. And I think maybe Michelle and I think James probably want to touch on that point, or not. Maybe just want to just talk about what Sharianne had to say. And Sharon, thank you. I was just going to say, if you could just mute for me. Go ahead, Michelle.
Hey, so I'm watching the comments as well, and we can talk about women and safety in America here in a second. I would love for white women to come up here and talk about their perspective on that. But I would just like to point something out. So, Smitty, you've gone live every single day since Venezuela, that Saturday, correct? Had thousands, sometimes close to 2,000. I've been watching the numbers the whole time. We've all been here. And then you brought up the subject of the last live, and you told everybody, hey, come on back. I'm going to reset the live. We're going to talk about Keith Porter. I would like to point everybody to how many people are in here now as compared to even what was there before. This is by design. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, people don't care about Black unalivings. They don't. It's not that interesting. And if anybody says, oh, you're being dramatic or that's anecdotal, just look at the numbers. If you were in Smitty's live prior talking about Iran and Trump's, getting involved, if you've been on any of the lives talking about Renee Good, he's had anywhere between 700 and damn near 1,800, 1,900 people in the live. But in this last live, he says, hey, I'm going to reset the live, come back. It's dropped by almost half because people don't want to talk about Black unalivings. But I'm going to say his name, Keith Porter Jr., right? So I would love for white women to come up if somebody wants to respond. I'm a Black woman in America, right? I'm the most hated entity, human being walking on the planet, period, end of story. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about white women and their fragility and whether or not they feel safe, because that instantly puts me on the defense, because I'm thinking about white women tears and how dangerous they are to my Black brothers and sisters. So I'm the wrong person to ask about whether or not white women feel safe in America. So whoever said that, hit the request and come on up and let's discuss.
Let me let Rosa come in, and then we're gonna go to James. Give me 1 second, bro. Rosa, I know you requested. Appreciate that. Certainly want to hear your perspective. What do you think about the question, and certainly the secondary question we asked about white women have always been unsafe in America? Your thoughts on that?
So thank you for having me. Thank you for holding this space. Also, thank you to all of the people on the panel who are talking and educating. I do believe that people found out about Keith Porter Jr. after because of white privilege. Americans did care more. People could say it was the timing, broad daylight, whatever, but it was white privilege. The other thing is that I do agree that women can be hated and are hated by a lot of men. However, we as white people, white women specifically, are not hated more than Black women. It is not just, sorry, give me 1 second. This is not anything more than white privilege. White women fought for I saw a comment about how we fought and stuff, and we've been targeted all along. Yes, we fought. And then we left Black women and POC behind. So in an effort to try to, I guess, assimilate maybe, and maybe get the otherness off of us, we traded our comfort for other oppression.
Okay. Thank you, Rosa. Thank you. I appreciate that perspective, definitely. Let me go to James, and then we'll go to Carolina.
You're on my list, Smitty.
I was already on the list.
We have used Keith Porter as we always use Black trauma as an afterthought in this moment, and his name would not have come out and been at the forefront if it wasn't for her unaliving. And I just want to be clear, like, in this moment, good, bad, or indifferent, the Trump administration has made a mortal mistake they have put at question the humanity of a white woman. And now every white woman that went to that ballot box and voted for Donald Trump is now thinking, this can be me too. They will dehumanize me. They will unalive me in furtherance of their ends. And many of them are now starting to recognize that they are getting put in the posture of being like everybody else. And I hate to say that, but there was no outrage until it was someone that when they got up in the morning and looked in the mirror looked like them. And that comfort has been consistent through the history of this country, right? When we look at voting, we look at how, unless it has a direct impact to white women in the white family, they will caucus with people that are okay marginalizing and brutalizing the bodies of Black people and brown people and anyone that is not white. And so she didn't deserve it, nor did the other 33 people who are on that list of people. But moreover, I think, good, bad, or indifferent, the Trump administration has made a mortal mistake leading up to midterms of forcing white women to stand in the nasty reflection of their truth and recognize that they were willing to vote for this person because they thought they wouldn't be harmed, and now they are harmed, and that they are going to be vicious at the ballot box because they viciously protect their identity in this country.
Okay. All right. Thank you, James. Carolina, let me ask you a question. I know you probably want to come in on this specifically.
Yeah.
But what do you say to women that say, hey, you know what? We only got the right to vote in the 20th century. Historically, we've been oppressed. We've gone through, unequal pay, and that's impacted white women. And so white women have been historically oppressed, and and is that being overlooked? Jackalope, thank you so much, fam. What do you think?
I mean, this is actually something I talk about on a regular basis. And I will remind white women that their oppressors are white men. Because I saw some ignorant comments from M in the chat saying that, white women are like in danger or have been oppressed or hunted, I think she used the word, by men from both sides. I don't know what both sides is supposed to mean there, but white women are oppressed by white men. People of color are not oppressing white women. And this actually came up in 2020 when they were doing the the centennial, celebration of women getting the right to vote. And I had a lot of white liberal women wanting me to speak. And I said, absolutely not. And they said, why? And I said, because my people didn't get the right to vote until 1924. We weren't even citizens until then. So what am I commemorating? It's not a centennial for me. And they were, very taken aback by that, like that, how, why couldn't I stand in solidarity with these white women? And it's the same thing when it comes to the wage gap. Absolutely. But we're not talking about how the wage gap for Black women is worse, or the wage gap for Native women is worse, or the fact that the wage gap for Latino women is like the largest disparity. So they, the issue comes down to this: white women are the most protected in America, and I will repeat that. Granted, when it comes to power and privilege, yes, white men are at the top. That's how patriarchy and white supremacy work. But white women are so protected in this country that we even see people of color and men of color sometimes rush to their defense over women of color, over Black and brown women. The white women tears are one of the most dangerous weapons in this country, in this society in general. So when they say these things, it's like I can't help but hear an oppression Olympics tune going on in the background. Like being a woman, period, is hard in a patriarchal society. Absolutely. But if you are harping on that and ignoring all the other factors, and don't speak for Native Americans real quick, because your comments are really pissing me off. I'm a Native American, and if you're talking to a Black person saying we don't want them on our land, no, they can stay. Y'all can go. Y'all are the problem. Other marginalized groups aren't affecting my ability to live the way I want in my land. It's y'all. So please don't speak for us and don't put that on us. But yeah, that's just the thing. And that's why this issue with Renee, I've had such mixed feelings about it. is terrible. It was completely unjustified. It's an example of state sanctioned violence, and we need to be bringing attention to it. But it does it makes me so uncomfortable that the fact that it took a white woman for people to start caring about people being unalived by ICE, that it takes putting a docile, fragile white woman in that position. So yeah, honestly, that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. Thank you, Carolina. Aisha, what do you think?
I think I really appreciate you doing it. I sent you. I saw your post, so thank you for bringing this to the forefront. Guys, please share and share, tap, like. This is our new newscaster of 60 Minutes.
That's hilarious.
It's unfiltered and it's fair.
That's right.
So I think it was kind of a warning to YT people by this administration that you can get it too. If you come out here and get out of pocket, so y'all better go back in the house where y'all were, not doing what go on and do whatever, but you can get it too.
Let me ask you. Let me bring Jen in. Let me ask Jen's question. Our pain doesn't matter. Our poverty doesn't matter. How does this help connection between let's say white women and other marginalized people? What would you say to Jen and her comment? What do you think?
I'm sorry. Say that again. I'm
our
sorry.
Pain doesn't matter. Our poverty doesn't matter. How does this help connection? So if folks say, hey, we deny the pain of white women, we deny again the wealth gap between white women and white men, for instance, how does that help bring white women into the broader fold of marginalized people? What do you think about that? And then and then by the way, after we get through this round, I have a question back to Keith Porter. So there's something specific.
Something as well, by the way. After
YT women need to get with themselves and ask that question, because Black women have been at the forefront of everything. I mean, Susan B. Anthony was even a Ray Ray. So I think that's something that they have to come together and with their own YT people and figure that out, because we don't have anything to do with that. As Black women, who haven't we supported? Pick a struggle. We've been there. So just the fact that the lady said something about, whoever said that YT women were the most, were vulnerable, when we have had whole towns burned to the ground because a white woman said somebody did something to them. So miss me with the BS. So that's how I'll answer that question.
Okay. Thank you, Aisha. Let's go to Cubby. Cubby, what do you think? Same question.
I don't care. I'm not gonna lie. I don't care about focusing on unity or like white people's feelings in general. I genuinely do not care. Black people are dying. Okay? Black people on a global scale are dying. And nobody cares about it. Right? The fact that to kind of give you an overall bigger picture, every 23 minutes, an Afro-Brazilian youth gets unalived. Black newborns in America are 3 times more likely to die than white newborns before they even know their own name. In Sudan, okay, in 3 weeks, 60,000 people died. Why is nobody talking about that? Why is nobody talking about the fact that 60,000 lives were snuffed in Sudan in 3 weeks in one single freaking city? Why is nobody talking about the fact that Eritreans today are starving? I posted a video about it on my page as well, right? A video about how Eritreans are starving, okay? Actively, to the point where they're literally picking up grains from the dirt. Dirty grains from the ground to feed themselves. That's how desperate. Yes, 60,000 people in 3 weeks in one city in Al-Fashir in Sudan. Why is nobody talking about the fact that in Congo, since 1998, about 6 million or 5 million Congolese people have been unalived? Like, what is happening? Black people are literally dying. So at this point, like, why should I basically care about the feelings of like white people? Like, respectfully, like, why should I care about if a white person feels comfortable or uncomfortable, or how they'll feel comfortable, or for me to coddle them or not? I don't care. What I want to actively center is the fact that black people are literally dying en masse on a daily basis. En masse. And I don't care who feels offended by this. I don't care who feels hurt by this. I don't care if people feel uncomfortable by this. I feel uncomfortable on a daily basis watching people who look like me die en masse by the thousands, and everybody forgets how to cry. Everybody forgets how to grieve all of a sudden. And having the humanity of people who look like me challenged on a daily basis. Challenged on a newborns, Smitty. Newborns. Newborns don't even know their name. They don't know who they are. They don't know. And the fact that black newborns are 3 times more likely to die, and people are just literally living their lives normally and expecting us to humanize other people. How are we going to humanize other people when we have been dehumanized? How are we going to humanize other people when our humanity gets challenged on a regular basis? Respectfully, we are too busy trying to humanize ourselves. We're not going to sit here trying to humanize like white people.
Okay. Thank you, Cubby. Rosa, I know you want to say something, then I'm going to go to James with a new question about Keith Porter. Go ahead, Rosa. Goodness, I can't even talk today. Go ahead, Rosa. Whatever you would like to share on this question, feel free.
Oh, thank you. This is because I keep seeing comments from other white women. And while I will say that there can be intersectionality with women being oppressed, this is not about white women. And furthermore, we should be in our own areas talking to other white women about it. And if you're upset about it, we need to take a step back and wonder why. And the next thing is that I will end with is it is disrespectful as hell to go to any group that have been oppressed and expect them to stand in solidarity with us and for them to fix our feelings and for them to tell us why it's wrong.
Okay. Thank you, Rosa. Appreciate that. We're going to drop down to James. The question that's on my mind is related to what happened to Keith Porter. When he was, discharging his weapon in regards to New Year's Eve, celebrating the new year coming in, he was described as an active pew-pewer. I can't say the word. Obviously, you know the word that I want to use. Why is it so easy for folks? Peace Seeker, good to see you. Why is it so easy for folks to be able to switch the narrative when it comes to black males? And second, what do we as content creators have as far as a responsibility that create content around these issues have to protect those narratives when they do get damaged? What do you think about that? That's a question for the entire panel.
Yeah, so I think that we have some responsibility to raise our voices and say this is wrong, right? Like, I think that is an easy step that all of us as content creators can take. To the first part of your question, I don't know why an off-duty ICE agent would be involved at all. And they aren't trained for law enforcement. They shouldn't be engaging in trying to police people. And I'll leave it there. I think there are some people on the panel that shared some stuff earlier, like Covey, that kind of speaks to this. I want to land, though, as I take my leave from you all, with Jen's question about why no one cares about white women, and flip that on its head. Jen, when did you talk to your friends, the 55% of them that voted for Donald Trump, and engage them in a conversation of why they would put you in harm's way, unless you thought that you weren't in harm's way? When did you start the conversation with the 60% of white men that voted for Donald Trump and have that conversation? when did you all start having conversations with your husbands about how the policies of this president were voted for this kind of horror that is now being perpetuated against you? And the short answer is you're waiting for the black body to do your bidding and to protect you. Meanwhile, you vote your financial interest. And if you haven't read the book, They Were Her Property by Stephanie Jones Rogers, I'd invite you to it. One of the quotes in that book she talks about is like how white women learned brutality from their husbands, but they were directly involved and they did so for their own financial interest. And so I want to ask you all, when you seek to ask us questions about why we aren't doing something for you, is why you aren't doing it for yourself, and why aren't you doing it for people that look like us? And the short answer is your financial interest and keeping a posture of being uninvolved when in all actuality you are directly involved. I hope that answers your question, Jen, and I hope you have the best Sunday.
Okay.
James,
All right.
I did want to, James, she did say that, and I wanted to put this out here before. I'm gonna drop down in a minute, Smitty.
Okay.
She did say that she was married to a black man, if that helps. So, I guess that was supposed to, negate everything else that you just said. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just because, so for the sake of saying this, and I hope that this is helpful too, having a black eggplant shoved up your uterus doesn't make you black. I hope that answers. I hope that. That doesn't make you black, and that doesn't make you caucus with us. Yeah, no, yeah, even black children doesn't do that. So I hope that helps, Jen. Go ahead, go with God.
All right, let me go
Drop.
to. Hey, James, are you dropping?
Yeah, you can drop me, buddy.
Okay. All right, let me go to Michelle. Same question again. When I was at the vigil last night, it was very clear from everybody that spoke about Keith Porter Jr. That he was an incredible man, always had a smile on his face. He made you feel like he knew you, even if he didn't. Why was it so easy to switch the narrative and have him sound like, this deranged, active, pew-pewer, whatever it may be? Why is it so easy? And do we as content creators have a responsibility to switch that narrative back? And then for those who can't see the background, the question is, why did most people only find out about Keith Porter after what happened in Minneapolis? So thank you for reminding me that the background is a little obstructed, excuse me. Michelle, your thoughts?
I think it's easy because that's just been the narrative always, right? The angry black woman, right? The welfare queen, right? It is infiltrated into every facet of American society since its inception, right? Black bad, black men scary, bad, right? Down to even in the medical industry, right? The healthcare industry, right? Literally medical books teaching that black skin is tougher and thicker. And we don't feel pain the same way, right? Keith Porter was described as a girl dad. And again, Smitty, thank you so much. Somebody had said, can we talk positively about black men in this space? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Keith Porter was described as a girl dad. And the post of his daughter, something that she said, and I know, Smitty, you'd mentioned it too, that was so impactful. She said, this isn't an article I can swipe away from. This is my real life. And I would just like to draw that attention to many people here who have an opinion about this. Walk a day in our shoes as an African American, right? It's different. And so to answer your question, just to summarize, I think it's because it's literally ingrained in our society. Black is bad. People do terrible things to black people first, and then they ask the pertinent questions, right? Instead of that ICE agent, going out, the way the media or the reports have come out is that he was investigating, right? He took it upon himself to investigate. I would also like to point out that we don't know the identity of this, not that I can see, this so-called ICE agent who took it upon himself. So they're even protecting the identity. We know about Keith, right? We certainly know the identity that was done quickly with Renee, but we don't know the identity of the person that took it upon himself. And I think, I'm sorry, that plays into it as well. So that's my answer. I think it's so ingrained in this society that, and listen, let me be honest. I'm sorry, I don't mean to monologue. Let me be honest. When stuff like this happens, Smitty, and you and I, any Black person in America can say this. Something happens, media gets the attention, right? Active pew-pewing, blah, blah, blah. The first thing was he Black? Was he white? Was he so I think society does the same thing. I think there's an assumption made depending on the race that the person is. But Keith Porter was a victim in this. And I don't want people to forget that. And I don't want people to forget his family and what his daughter said.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Nichelle. Let me go. And again, it goes to what Prince just said in the comments. I didn't know about Keith Porter until Smitty's live yesterday. It's a lot of people that until, I live streamed the vigil just for a second, that they didn't know about it. And by the way, I just wanted to say something real quick before we get Carolina's response. I didn't live stream 99% of it. One, because it was just very raw. There were parts of it that were very raw, at least to me. And I just didn't want that to be captured, even though there were other people live streaming. I just didn't feel right doing it. And then also, obviously, I was wanting to be as present as possible. But there was a piece I thought was really good and really powerful that I felt that everybody should see. So that's why I live streamed that piece of it. I watched his daughter's video. It was so heartbreaking. Yeah. And his daughter was really, really obviously very emotional at the vigil, and his mother, his father, friends. I can only hope, that when that day happens for me, that my friends speak about me the way his friends spoke about him last night. It was incredible. Let me go to Cedric. You were there too, brother. All right. Yep. I feel you. Let me go to Carolina. Carolina, your thoughts?
Well, at this point, which part? Because this is so much. Do you want me to focus on a specific?
Yeah, let me go to the narrative so easily being shifted in regards to Keith Porter. Again, everything I've heard about this man is he was incredible, the nicest guy, give you the shirt off his back, but he was immediately shifted into an active, dangerous pew-pewer.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
So I think that I think it's very obvious and in our face. There's two aspects to this. One, when it comes to any type of law enforcement being the people behind the weapon, right? There's already going to be a rush to frame the narrative as the victim being in the wrong in some capacity. Now, what I find interesting, though, is how dramatic that change of the narrative is when it comes to, when it comes to a person of color, and specifically Black men. So, of course, the go-to is this is a Black man who had a weapon. Now, you're going to get all these I love my Second Amendment right type of mother effers, going in on this fact as if this man wasn't allowed to own a weapon, even though they advocate for it within their own community, right? So, of course, the narrative is going to be scary Black man with a weapon. That's just, it's just, again, a rinse and repeat. This is the tactic that they use. Anytime that a Black man has been unalived by police, that's the first thing that they go to. How do we demonize it? How do we frame it to make them seem so violent that it was somebody that posed a threat to the community? Whereas the narrative, when it's a white woman, they still want to go with she's an agitator or she shouldn't have been doing this, but not too heavy on maligning her as a danger to society. So I think that's very evident. I'm really glad that you were able to be there because from all of the accounts that I've been checking also, is that, this is just a decent human being. This was a family man. This was nothing other than a New Year's Eve celebration, just like I stated that they do in my neighborhood all the time. So I don't know. I don't even know if there's too much to add. I feel like it's just so blatant that it's racially motivated to paint him as a danger.
Let me,
We sent the chat. We sent it. Let's freaking go. Let's freaking go, chat. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's see what he says. Let's see what he says. Dang, you cute as fuck. Yo, pause, gang. Pause. Thank you so much. I bet you're cuter. Okay. Truth or... Truth or dare, truth or dare, truth or dare. Yo, thank you for the go popular. I appreciate it. Don't flirt with me. Okay, interesting. I dare you to send me a selfie. I don't know. I dare you to send me a selfie. I was not flirting, bro. I was not flirting, gang. Jessica with the follow. Thank you for the follow, Jessica. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Bro, calm down with the... I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I crashed out. I crashed out. Sorry, I don't show my... I'm leaving him on red. I'm leaving him on red. I don't even care. I am leaving him on red. I don't even care, bro. I don't.
Have a platform narrative about, you know, Renee Good, for instance, was out there that, oh, she lost custody of her kids and she was this and she was that. Turns out that's not even the true story. It's how the information about Venezuela got spread like that. Oh my God, all these people are out here celebrating. Took just a few minutes to prove that these people who were celebrating were not even in the country and they were in the United States and other nations. And it's the same thing with this. So I do think that if people are going to take it upon themselves to be reporting on issues or to hosting, you know, conversations about issues, that they owe it to the people who follow them to do the due diligence, get out there, find out if it's in your community, find out what's exactly going on, talk to people on the ground, but also vet the sources. And that's why I think it's so important. Like, we will constantly, you know, put flags in the conversation when people are talking on this panel. Not that we want to interrupt them and cut them off, but at some point we have to be able to interject and say, wait a minute, what you just said was blatantly false. We can fact check it in real time. And before we go down this rabbit hole of where you're going to go with your narrative, we need to be able to stop it right then and there, because we should not be allowing the spread of misinformation.
Thank you, Catalina. I totally agree. Let me go to Cubby. What are your thoughts, ma'am, on this question?
Yeah, I wanted to address the previous point as well that was mentioned. I think Carolina had mentioned it. It was with regards to biases that people have towards Black people, right? When we look at the empirical data, there's enough studies on this, by the way. There was a study that was published in the National Library of Medicine in 2023. And within that study, the participants in said study, they judged Black boys as physically larger and stronger than same-sized white boys, even when there was no size difference, like real size difference between the two. They consistently overestimated the height and the size of Black adolescent boys compared to white adolescent boys, right? There was another study that was also done by Stanford, where they showed that police officers and also just normal lay people, right, that they unconsciously associated Black men with violence and threat more than they did with white men, even when factors of behavior were controlled, right? It kind of like there was an implicit stereotype basically that was kind of found that linked Black people to danger and violence, which influenced like a split-second decision. Right? So basically, they didn't even have to be armed. The Black skin is perceived as them being armed in the first place, right? There was a third study that was done, again, in the National Library of Medicine, where adults, literally adults, associated honesty more strongly with white children than Black children. And within that study, it showed that there was a great implicit bias that predicted lower trust in Black children's testimony in like an assimilated legal case, right? Because that's what they did. There was another study that was done in London where they took like 265,000 police records in a huge study that was conducted. And they found that Black children were about 15% more likely to be criminalized than white children for the same or similar offenses. Okay. And they were less likely to receive other options like counseling. Okay. And the last study that I want to highlight was that there was another study that was done in, again, published in the National Library of Medicine, where they showed that children, because usually children as young as 7 years old, they already show racial bias when it comes to pain perception, right? By the age of 10 years old, children literally judged Black peers as feeling less pain. Why are 10-year-old children perceiving and conditioned to view Black people as having a higher pain tolerance than white people within identical scenarios, which shows you how early these biases develop, right? And purposefully are being developed. And there was another study by the American Psychological Association, where they even asked cops and lay people again, and they perceived that Black boys as young as the age of 10 years old were perceived to be 10 years older than their age, perceived to be less innocent and more guilty than their white counterparts as young as 10. Okay. And they were perceived to be 10 years older, and that made them more susceptible to police brutality. The dispatcher, by the way, I don't know if you heard about the dispatcher after he unalived Tamir Rice, the cop, when he called the dispatcher. I don't know if people know what he said to the dispatcher. He said that he had just shot a 22-year-old. He saw Tamir Rice, who was 12 years old, and immediately thought that he was a 22-year-old person. Why? Because Black children are adultified as well while they're being criminalized, right? So this has to do again with the biases. Why is society being conditioned to view Black people as more dangerous, less innocent, more guilty, that is making us susceptible to all of these levels of violence, and people feeling apathetic towards our suffering to the point where they're indifferent. And the purpose of that is, by the way, Smitty, I'll land my plane here. It is because civil society as we know it today, I highly recommend people to be reading into Frank B. Wilderson III's Afro-pessimism, okay? Civil society as we know it today is rooted in the subjugation of Black people. And the economic system, the system of capitalism that we live within today, is dependent on Black people dying on a global scale. And if Black people stop dying, the economy collapses. And therefore, the world that we live in has to continue facilitating and causing the death of Black people so that society can function, unfortunately.
Thank you, Cubby. Appreciate that. And Nichelle, I know you want to come in. Let me just give me 1 second. I just want to get the temperature of the new panelists real quick, and I'll get back down to you. I kind of mismatched the order here a little bit. Let me go to Mello. Mello, what are your thoughts? Why do people only find out about Keith Porter after what happened in Minneapolis?
Yeah, how you doing, Smitty? How you doing,
Good,
panel?
good.
I tend to agree a lot with the young lady just said. By the way, I want to get that out the way. What she said I know to be true. I've seen a few of those studies, especially back then when the young lady had got so much time and stuff for unaliving her, the guy who was forcing her to sell herself and stuff like that. That's what prompted me to get into these stats, because they brought it up about the judge, how the similar case happened with a white tea woman, and he didn't give her no time, got her counseling, got her all the fixings, and opposite. Yeah, so I agree. But yeah, for this Keith Porter thing, I don't think it spread as fast because it wasn't as sensationalized. Of course, in America, we already know we're conditioned to ignore the suffering of Black and brown bodies, or anybody else. But it wasn't a bunch of ICE officers out there in uniform. It was an off-duty guy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't sensationalized. It wasn't, oh, everybody come look at this, this, that, and the third. Either way, even if it was, I don't think it would have still got the same amount of headline coverage. To be honest, we know that to be true, and it's the cycle of propaganda that's been fed to us since I'll even, back in Reagan administration and everybody else, when they were telling that they knew they was lying about the war on smugs, and they basically did it so they can vilify us night after night on the evening news and things like that. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mello. Let me go to Ronnie. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Hey, Smitty. I'm just going to say American media is racist. The American people, by and large, primarily white Americans, are racist. Whether they are explicitly racist or their biases are rooted in white supremacy and racism, the American public and American media are racist. They're not going to center on Black Americans. They're not going to center on people of color. They're not going to center on Indigenous Americans. That's just the nature of of American people. That's just the nature of American media. That's just how it is. I actually came up very specifically to expand on something that Catalina was talking about, but we can get to that when you go through the rest of the panel. That's totally fine.
Okay. Fantastic, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me go to Lotus, and then we'll go to Noah. Lotus, how you doing? It's been a minute. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's like I said in the comments, what they do when it comes to Black people is they criminalize the victim and victimize the criminal. Ooh. Right? This person clearly was a victim, right? Just conversely, just like the young lady that was unalive several days ago. But the difference is that we have been, as a society, has been indoctrinated into believing that Black people in particular are less than human, and it's still that way now in 2026, right? This just literally happened New Year's Eve, going forward to the day after New Year's. A young lady down here in the South has experienced medical racism and medical neglect, and she ended up passing away after having her first child, right? This isn't something that is new. This is nothing that is something that happened long ago. This is happening coming into 2026. Now, the reason being is because this is the racial propagandization of the oppression of Black people, right? As long as we are looked at as downtrodden, inherently criminal, overly schmexualized, right? And a plethora of other things. And then the flip side of the coin is white people are looked at as smarter, more, they're prettier, they're better in all facets of life. That's fine, right? I mean, this young lady here, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I'll take the hit for it. The young lady that lost her life a couple of days ago to ICE, right? It was spread all over the place because she was white. They're having all kinds of vigils and all this extra stuff. But then conversely, this Black man who was at his home was unalived by an off-duty. I mean, to be quite honest with you, they don't have the training or anything like that. So I don't know if they're on duty, off duty, whatever the case may be. But this off-duty ICE person comes along and pew-pews this man and then gets to turn around and hide behind, oh, well, I thought, there was danger afoot, right? To carrying that mentality of the stand your ground mentality. So when we talk about these things, and as Kobe was talking about with the raw numbers and the statistics and where she got it from, her academic resources, this is happening in everyday life, right? This is really happening. I mean, we are watching in real time in 4K us being taken out. But what's really funny is it wasn't a problem when the Black man got unalived. It wasn't even a problem. It was a blurb on media. But as soon as this white was her life, now all of a sudden it's, oh my God, that something has happened to all of humanity, and you're having all these vigils, and she's spread out on every news outlet out here, versus this black man. If I didn't catch this on the TikTok streets, I would have never known that man was unalived on New Year's Eve. And to land my plane, I'm going to say the same thing I said in the beginning in the comments. They victimize the criminal, and they criminalize the victim, and they victimize the criminal. And I land my plane right there.
Thank you, Lotus. Thank you. Appreciate that. Tailpipe brother with the wolf. Woo! That's my first wolf ever. I know I gave out about 20 of them, but that's my first time receiving one. Appreciate you, fam. Let me go to Noah, then we'll go to John. Noah, what are your thoughts? Why did most people find out about Keith Porter only after what happened in Minneapolis?
Yeah, I really appreciate what Covey said, and I was also thinking about Afro-pessimism. I had typed in the chat a particular page because I think it's really instructive here. Because if we understand anti-blackness is fundamental to modernity as we know it, anti-blackness can evolve, slavery can evolve, but the idea of black people as not human within the collective unconscious persists, right? And I have it in front of me right now. Can I read 2 paragraphs or mad short?
Yes, it's short. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Frank Wilderson says, this is why online video posts of police murdering black people contribute more to the psychic well-being of non-black people, to their communal pleasures and sense of ontological presence, than they contribute to deterrence, arrests, or even to a general sensitivity to black pain and suffering. Afro-pessimism helps us understand why the violence that saturates black life isn't threatened with elimination just because it is exposed. For this to be the case, the spectator, interlocutor, auditor would have to come to images such as these with an unconscious that can perceive injury in such images. In other words, the mind would have to see a person with a heritage of rights and claims whose rights and claims are being violated. This is not the way slaves, blacks, function in the collective unconscious. Slaves function as implements in the collective unconscious. Who ever heard of an injured plow? Right. So the idea isn't even just that there's this indifference to black suffering, but that black suffering is already illegible because black people have been so thoroughly dehumanized. You know what I'm saying? So you can't harm an object, right? And if the project of modernity and civil society itself is contingent on black people being reduced to objects so that non-black people can feel human, this sort of illegibility and inertia in response to images and representations of black suffering will always be there.
Okay. Thank you, Noah. Let's go to John. John, same question. Why did most people only find out about Keith Porter after what happened in Minneapolis? Your thoughts?
You talking to me?
Yes. Oh, Joe. Sorry, Joe. Joe. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, I think this is all just complete nonsense. It has nothing to do with race. This Keith guy that happened on New Year's, not only was he armed shooting in the air, but there's no video of it happening. So how could it possibly go as viral? This video of this lady, she's unarmed. She appears to be innocent. She appears to be, just minding her business, and she gets shot. So obviously it's going to go viral. Same thing happened with George Floyd. If it's about race, George Floyd made $20 million, got 5 statues of him, riots for 4 months. So if it's not all about race, how did George Floyd go so viral? You have to understand what makes things go viral. First off, video. First off, the situation. First off, the circumstances. The officer that unalived Keith, he wasn't operating within his role. This was off duty. That's like someone being unalived by someone that works at Walmart and then saying we should blame Walmart. It has nothing to do with the situation.
Let me, who wants to come in? I'll let whoever wants to come in.
Can I chime in really quickly?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So first of all, we can never ignore race. I don't know who the hell you think you are, but we can never ignore race. You've had explanations from Noah, from Covey, from Carolina, from Nichelle, and from Mello, all explaining the reasons why race cannot be ignored and why race played a role into why Keith Porter Jr.'s story was not covered nearly as widely as Renee Nicole.
Is it on video?
Hold on, let me finish.
You got wind, Ronnie. We can barely hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm outside just trying to finish something in my front yard. Let me go into the garage. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you cannot ignore race whatsoever. Now, I'm going to explain something really quickly.
Is it on video?
Hold on.
Let me let him finish, Joe. I'll give you a chance to respond.
Okay.
Go right.
Not everything is caught on video. Sometimes we're going to have to rely on eyewitness accounts. Multiple eyewitnesses that witnessed what happened said that Keith Porter Jr. had no ill harm. He did not pose a threat to anyone. And the off-duty ICE agent that stepped in and shot him came in after Keith already stopped shooting into the air. And as Smitty explained earlier, there are people from many communities that will use their guns and just take their pew-pews and shoot into the air as shots of celebration for a different occasion, such as ringing in the new year, right? So yeah, he was doing something that may have been illegal according to California statutes, according to his own lawyer that said it could have been a simple arrest and citation, but the off-duty ICE agent exerted force illegally against Keith Porter Jr.
I'm not defending.
I'm not done.
You're yapping now. You're just yapping.
No, I'm explaining something. If you don't like it, you can run away, but I'm explaining something, and then you can respond when I tell you that I'm done.
Well, hurry it up.
My God.
Hey, that's not necessary.
Thank you, Catalina.
Go ahead, Ronnie. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the off-duty ICE agent exerted force, and the reason why the thing is, Smitty didn't even ask you whether you think Keith Porter did something wrong or not. His question was specifically, why did we hear, the majority of us hear about Keith Porter Jr. after Renee Nicole Good? And you said it had nothing to do with race, and then you started talking about how Keith Porter Jr. did something illegal and he was a threat. And
I never said that.
That's exactly what you said.
Stop lying.
That's exactly what you said.
No, I didn't.
Smitty,
I never defended the officer that unalived
Is that what
Keith.
you said?
I never defended the officer that unalived Keith. I just simply explained why it didn't go as viral. I said the situation that happened with Keith is far different than the situation that happened with Miss Good. I just simply explained the fact that's not on video. Usually that don't tend to make things go as viral. Also, if he was unarmed like the lady was, it would just have gone as viral. Then I brought up all situations that did go viral in this country. You heard of Sonia Macy. You've heard of Trayvon. Let me finish. You've heard of Sonia Macy. You've heard. Can I finish?
Jerry Springer, you got people in the comments that are telling you that you did say that.
I didn't say that. Anyways, let me finish. Have you heard of Sonia Macy? Have you heard of Trayvon Martin? Have you heard of George Floyd? Have you heard of all these situations? Can you name one situation of a white person unarmed that's being killed by the police? A white person? No, you can't name them because those stories don't go viral either. But every year there's more white people unalived by the police than black people. But those stories don't go viral. So if it's all about race, how come those stories? You don't let me finish now. How come those situations don't go viral? All the white people
Can I say something, Smitty?
unarmed by white people.
Okay,
Can I say
You can't
something
name those
after?
situations, can you? You can't name one. I can name 10 black people unalived by the police. You can't name one white person.
Real quick.
And there's more white people every year.
Okay, let me go to Covey. Go ahead, Covey.
Can I go right after Covey because I'm gonna have to drop for a minute and then I can come back. Go ahead.
Yep.
Okay, so first of all, one thing I wanted to address, George Floyd's unaliving was on tape, right? It was on video, and yet a lot of people, go back on mute. I don't know why you unmuted. I was on mute. Yeah, thank you. So as I was saying, George Floyd was literally on video when he was unalived. Yet you have the Ben Shabibos right now going around claiming that he got unalived because of a overdose and not that Derek Chauvin unalived him, right? Also, you said that he made $20 million. How is this man going to make $20 million when he's dead? He left his daughter. I am not done, Joe. Sir,
one by one, his family.
I know you're not used to letting women finish, but what you're going to do here is you're going to let me finish. Understood? Stay your ass on mute.
I don't care about making women finish.
Stay your ass on fucking mute.
You seem amped up.
As I was saying, right? So Joe here is talking about all the white victims. I don't know why you're not mad then, Joe. I don't know why you're not mad. If you think that white people are being unalived by the police, then fine. Be mad and host lives. Talk about it. Post content about it. I don't know why you're sitting here
from my point for
I'm so sorry. What is this man?
Stop deflecting.
I'm so sorry. Clearly, this man's parents were not civilized enough to teach him to have some decorum in a fucking conversation.
I don't know. For a people who went around civilizing the world, a lot of white people are fucking uncivilized. Where is the decorum? Crazy. So as I was saying, to respond to him, it's crazy to me that a lot of times, right, I do not see white people en masse lamenting over their experiences with racism. I don't see white people en masse lamenting over police brutality. The only time they bring it up is when a black person talks about police brutality. Why? If you are so hell-bent on trying to bring up the white victims, then fine, host a live about it. Organize a protest about it. Why aren't you angry? Why are you fine with white people being unalived, innocent white people being unalived by the police? Clearly, you don't care about their lives, okay? So this is the issue that I have. The same people who lament about reverse racism and we're victims too, and oh my God, we're being victimized by the police, then fine. Get angry, do something about it. Do not depend on black people to be your muscle. This is the issue that I have, okay? First of all, George Floyd did not earn $20 million. George Floyd passed away. Yet you guys are so freaking obsessed with this man instead of letting him rest in peace. He had a young child who lost her father, okay? Another thing I wanted to say was, it doesn't have to be on video, because even when there is a video of black people being victimized and being unalived, these people do not care. Okay, they literally used to sell the unaliving of black people as postcards to brag about how many black people they've unalived. Clearly, there's a lot of indifference and apathy that a lot of white people are conditioned to have. That is their problem. I'm sick and tired of white people trying to make their apathy a problem of black people. That is a problem that you need to deal with. If you have an issue with race and racism, Pookie, you need to get yourself a Ouija board and contact your demonic ancestors and ask them as to why they created race and racism, because it was white people who did it. White people created race. White people created racism. They created all of these categories. They decided to then create this global world system that we live in, the international system that we live in today, rooted in this bullshit concept that is race. If you have an issue with race being brought up, then ask your barbaric ancestors why they created it. I'm so confused as to why they think we're the ones who categorize people. We didn't. Right? And Smitty, this is another way to demonize black people. Why didn't they comply? Why did they have a weapon? Why did they have this? If I'm not mistaken, an off-duty ICE agent is not the judge, jury, and executioner. So if they're not the judge, jury, and executioner, why did they unalive a person? Confusion.
Yeah. Well, I would add to your point, and then we're going to go to Carolina. Also, just because cases that involve black, victims, right, go more viral, it doesn't necessarily mean that is good for the black victim or whoever the black person is involved. If you look at what happened with George Floyd, look how he was criminalized and how his past activity was brought up. You look at Rodney King, and there were so many conspiracies about Rodney King and what he did and what he didn't do. And so oftentimes when a case goes viral, it's not necessarily good for the black person that's involved as well. So I would just add that piece of it in there.
One thing I want to say as well is he said more white people get unalived. That's not true. Black people literally are up to 3.23 times or 4 times more likely to be unalived by the police. Disproportionately unalived. They're disproportionately victimized, disproportionately brutalized as well, and disproportionately stopped. I can give you about 10 studies looking into how black people are actively criminalized and subjected to systemic and structural violence at the hands of the police and the judicial system. So it's not, white people are not the victims.
Let me go to Carolina. Go ahead, Carolina, and then I'm going to go to Nichelle.
Yeah, and after this, I do have to drop for a bit, but I can come back. I just have to make some calls. But the reason why, and I want to remind everyone, I preface this by saying I do believe that the amount of video footage does play a factor into it. Like, yes, we can agree to that, but it doesn't change the fact that race also plays a factor. And so, and I see Joe continuing in the comments. I will remind him there was video footage when Silverio Villegas Gonzalez was unalived as well. And the narrative that was spun by DHS at that time was that this man was fleeing, posed a danger, tried to run them over, and was dragging them, right? This is a Mexican man. This is a Mexican man who had been living in Chicago for 20 years, no criminal record whatsoever. DHS tried to frame the narrative of everything that I just stated. They also tried to state that he had a history of reckless driving. When they looked into his record, he had a couple of traffic violations, like for speeding, not having insurance, and then not having a child restraint. That's not reckless driving. Okay, that's what any regular American citizen could have on any given basis. Additionally, this was a targeted operation specific because they did it during Mexican Independence Day weekend, and it was Operation Midway Blitz. They were intentionally looking for Mexican immigrants at this point in time. So once the video footage, they tried to claim that the officer's life was severely threatened. Once the body cam footage came out, it showed that he was telling a police officer that his injuries were nothing major, that he was fine. They also determined that Silverio was shot at a close range, so dispelling the narrative that they had to shoot from a distance because they were being dragged or they were being rammed. So I'm going to just give that. The reason I'm giving that as an example is that, yes, race does play a factor. No, we did not have video footage of what happened to Keith Porter, but there have been other instances where we've had video footage of what has happened to other non-white people, and it still did not get the level of attention. Like when it comes to Silverio Gonzalez, how many people knew that the governor came out, that Governor Pritzker came out and condemned this? How many people knew that the Mexican consulate paid to have his body repatriated? How many people knew that Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, demanded an investigation into his unaliving? So I feel like it's just being disingenuous, like saying that race isn't a factor. And that's just another example. And I'm glad that Covey highlighted this, of this white privilege that exists, that when we think of that they think that's the only mitigating factor was the amount of video footage. It's not the only amount. Everybody on this panel has so eloquently stated about how, and Lotus, I'm so glad you said it the way that you did, how we criminalize the victims and we victimize the criminals in these situations. And race always plays a factor into it. I don't know why he thinks he can skirt around it. And he even continued in the comments as Covey's giving those statistics, trying to say, I'm talking about more, not per capita. When white people are the majority in this country, there's almost always a scenario where it's going to be numerically more, almost always, but not even always. So per capita matters when, like, it's the same thing with Native people. Native people actually have the highest rate of unalivings by police. It may have been surpassed over the last couple years. But these two demographics, Native people and Black people, are relegated to the bottom rungs of society consistently, where our numbers have been decimated in certain respects. And so when per capita comes into play, it matters, because for us to be such a small portion of the population and to have the numbers that we do in our demographics, that is important. That is a racial disparity. That is a societal disparity. And I don't know how you can get around that by simply saying more white people are unalived in this instant. Well, I mean, how are you not going to be?
let me thank you, Catalina. I'll let you go. I know you.
Okay. I'll be back.
Yeah. And I think, listen, y'all know I typically just mod, but I do want to say something about why cases that involve Black victims will and can go viral, and the reason for the virality as opposed to cases that involve white victims. And I think this is very important. We neglect this piece. The reason why there is a lot of attention placed on Black victims is because most of the people placing that attention are concerned about the potential lack of justice for that Black victim. And so they're paying attention to it to draw attention, because we have seen historically that there has been a lack of justice to white perpetrators on Black victims, i.e., for instance, if you look at the Civil Rights Movement and before, there was a huge lack of justice done in regards to those white perpetrators against people in the Civil Rights Movement. Martin Luther King, in fact, was the first civil rights leader whose white perpetrator actually got punished. And you can go back and say that was a conspiracy, blah, 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 sure, right? But that's really the reason for the virality, where when you look at white victims, right, typically the virality is because most of America can see themselves in that victim, and there's a sense of fear and outrage that this happened to that specific person. So I think it's very important, right, to also mention the reason behind it. I think that's very important. Nichelle, go ahead.
Thank you, Smitty. That's exactly where I was going with that. I'd like to remind everyone the coverage initially with Ukraine. There was a media person who went viral for saying, this isn't a third world country. These people look like us. To Smitty's point, right? Why is it going viral? I think that matters just as much. For me, as I'm sitting here listening to just all the conversation and watching the comments in the chat, for me, there's got to be a call to action for this. And I'm specifically speaking to people who are not part of the Black and brown community, right? And even if you are, some of you who struggle with proximity issues and think that they're going to accept you, they'll never accept you. The call to action is, okay, it's easy for 425 people in here to be active and listening and discussing these things. But I see so many people who are saying, I didn't know, Smitty, I didn't know. Well, now that you do know, what are you going to do? Right? Are you going to talk to your white friends and neighbors about Keith Porter? And about, like James had brought up, the so many other people who've been unalived at the hands of ICE, right? Like, it's so easy to sit here and opine on a panel or in a chat and to be proverbially, clutching your pearls. But what now are you going to do? There's got to be, in my opinion, Smitty, a call to action sometimes with these conversations. Now that you know, what are you going to do? And the last thing I'll say is, check yourself. We have to be honest. You can't fix something if you don't identify it truthfully for what it is. Okay. You've heard people up on the panel talk about why things go viral, why race matters. And those are all important points and stats and all those things. But there is a little piece of every person who is not part of a marginalized community that there's a check. There's something went off in you when you saw that it was Renee. Hell, I'm Black. I'm a Black woman, and something went off in me when I found out two things: that she was white and that she was an American citizen. So I know if it went off for me, something went off for you. So check that. Check why your response is different with Renee than it is with, say, finding out about Keith Porter, right? Or George Floyd or Tamir Rice. If there's not a call to action.
All right. Thank you, Nichelle. Let me go get the three people I just brought up: Lotus, Sherry, and A Money. I know Lotus and Sherry, you're returning, so I'm assuming you probably want to talk about what's been said just recently, and then A Money is completely new, so we'll get her opinion on the topic. Go ahead, Lotus.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the dude in the comments is talking all this nonsense about how he's telling the truth, and the countless quote unquote innocent white people that are being unalived by police, how that's not going viral and all this stuff. And it goes back to the point that everyone is saying, right? And it goes back to my point too. Again, there's this, how can I word this? There's this white arrogance, right? To the borderline narcissism, right? Where they're like, oh, well, we're more important than you, and I don't understand this. That's just because of this, that, and the third. Going back, and I stand on this 10 toes down. They criminalized the victim as what was being said. With Tamir Rice, he was described as a man instead of a boy, right? They even said, because it happened in my city. I lived right around the corner from where he was unalived, right? His parents lived around the corner from me at the time. Right? To show you how far this went. This man here was fired from his job in Independence, Ohio, right? For insubordination, right? Then he moves to Cleveland. They don't do no freaking background check on him or anything, right? Then he gets to unalive a teenage boy. Then he moves to Southern Ohio to try to work in some little town somewhere. That didn't work. Then he tried to go to freaking West Virginia and got recently fired from there. That's what I mean, is that they looked at him socially as the cop being the victim. Oh, poor, woe is me. This cop is just trying to make a living, and this. And then this boy, this derelict, pew pew at first, right? until they said it was a toy pew pew. Now, what bothers me is that young white kids can go and get trained on how to hunt. They can go and get pew pews or get their parents' pew pews, and they can go every season out hunting, And then when they go around mass unaliving people in schools and crap like that, when we figure out what kind of gun it is or pew pew it is, now it's like, oh my God, well, that must have been their parents and blah, blah, blah. Again, when they victimize the criminal, people making whole manifestos, sit up there literally walking into supermarkets, churches, schools, unaliving people in mass. But that's just, oh, well, something was wrong with him. He had trouble at home. He was raised by a single parent. Or let's talk about what happened with bus. Wasn't because of justice being served. It wasn't because a person's life was being taken. It was because the woman was arrogant enough and conceited enough to go up against law enforcement and act like they wasn't supposed to touch her. Going on Facebook talking about I was looking for ways to use stand your ground law and didn't think the police would track it. And I was like, oh, well, and then it was all caught on film. I mean, it's right on the freaking documentary now on Netflix on how arrogant he was sitting up there freaking talking. What we mean here?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Lotus. Let's go to Sherry Ann and we go to A Money.
So, Joe, if you want to talk about fairness, let's start with media. Media doesn't report white crime because they want to make black and brown people look like they're the ones that are the perpetrators of the evil in this country, of all the crimes in this country. There are more white men in jail than black men. Well, there are more black men in jail than white men, specifically because of that. I lived in New York, and in Long Island, let's take for example, it would make you believe that there were no crimes committed in Long Island. It was perfect. It was the burbs. Everything was wonderful, right? Until white mothers started losing their sons to opioid usage. And then they started coming on live TV talking about it. And you're like, oh, wow, that's happening there. You would believe that it would never happen. I worked in Long Island. I took the train. They drank on the train. They did everything on the train. If you got off that train and you went on the regular train in New York City as a black person, whether or not you had that drink in a bag, you would be arrested for drinking on the train. But they could drink from Long Island all the way to the city and not get in trouble. Okay? How none of their crimes are reported. They could talk about using smart, the D word. Like they don't even care, right on the train, not even worrying about getting arrested. Let's blame the media for the fact that your crimes are not reported or your people are not getting unalived by the police because they want to keep that quiet. Because who do they want to be presented as the demons and the devils in this country? We the black people and brown people, right? And we know when media report, when we do something, they immediately say our race. Oh, a black person did this, a brown person did this. But we know immediately when it's one of you because they just said a man was found or a man did this. And we say, I wonder who the man is because it immediately your race is kept out until they can't hold it anymore. So what happens in white communities are not reported specifically because they want to keep it at bay because you're the good guys and we're the demons. And that's my point.
All right. Thank you, Sherry Ann. Appreciate that. We're going to go to A Money. A Money, what are your thoughts? Why do most people find out about Keith Porter only after what happened in Minneapolis? Your thoughts?
Hey, Smitty. Because she's white. Because she's white. I'm going to go a little bit more into it, but it's 100% because she was white. But also, it's the media, 100%. The media likes to portray people that are black and brown bodies, dehumanizing, basically. And as far as Keith Porter goes, and they were talking about why does he have a pew-pew, or why did the off-duty ICE agent have a pew-pew at the same time? Like, he was off-duty. Why did he have his pew-pew on him, right? So if we're going to talk about why this guy had a pew-pew, why did he have a pew-pew? And the media, 100% the media, social media, it's the media bias against black and brown bodies, 100%. They have this narrative of trying to dehumanize people that don't look like them. Like, for instance, when they called a 6-year-old child, a Palestinian child, a young woman, a 6-year-old.
How is a 6-year-old a young woman? And that's, they use these words against black and brown bodies to portray something completely different. And Joe came up here and called black bodies being unalived situations. Like, really? This is not a situationship, okay? These are black and brown bodies, and he used that term to dehumanize black and brown bodies when he said situations, and that was kind of messed up that nobody clocked him on that, and that was bullshit. And he named a bunch of black and brown bodies that were unalived, and he said they went viral. Well, did he not realize that they went viral to dehumanize them even more because they were trying to make the pure look better than the unalived? That's why they went viral. They didn't go viral just because, okay? And he sounded so stupid coming up here and doing that shit. I hate when they dehumanize us, and it just like, it makes me see red. It's kind of messed up. But yeah.
All right. Let me do this. Let's end on a positive note. Again, for those who don't know, I did go to the Keith Porter Jr. vigil last night. There was so much positivity that was expressed about this person, that he was, again, the one to light up a room, the one to make everybody feel welcome. Just a really welcoming person. Is there, Jen says no, I know I got to run, y'all. I got to run, but,
Say something, by the way, before you run.
Yeah, no. I was going to open up to the panel to have a final comment about something. Something positive we can all draw strength from, or if you want to speak about a specific content creator or that you feel like is doing good work to address this, or a specific, source that you feel like folks should read to learn more about this. What can we do, to Michelle's point, to improve how this is covered by content creators? Is kind of where I wanted to go. But yes, something positive we can draw.
Calling out content creators. I mean, I'm just being fully transparent here. I saw it on A Money's live. I mean, she had it up on her live. She tends to go at night, and I saw it, and they were talking about there, and then of course Smitty and other people. James Baldwin's Rage has done some phenomenal posts on it as well. And somebody had mentioned this, and thank you guys, when we're talking about positive and the differences between the two. I would like to bring attention to Keith Porter's GoFundMe. If you feel led to reach out and do that, and the reason I'm bringing that up too is because there were conversations, Smitty, about the fact that Renee's GoFundMe they stopped it at 1.3 million, and yet there are other that didn't get and I'm not taking anything away. I think Renee family, may she rest in peace. I mean, I believe that they should get everything. I'm just on a positive note. If you want to, like I mentioned, the call to action, if you feel so led or you're able to, please, contribute to his GoFundMe or at least share it. And like I said, lastly, please do the work yourself. And if you've learned something here today, please share it. We can improve the situation by us getting off the app today and talking to people in our real lives about Keith Porter and what he said. And again, I want to echo his daughter, because I feel like their voices get lost, Smitty. And thank you for bringing up again the vigil and everything that they were saying about him and how you characterized his family. His daughter said, she made a post. It was so sweet, so humble. She said, "This is not an article I can swipe away from. This is my real life." So please keep that in mind as well.
Thank you, Nichelle. One thing they did say at the visual was to make sure that the GoFundMe was the one that was started by his mother. So just make sure that the GoFundMe is the one started by his mother. I can't remember his mother's name right now, but they did mention that at the GoFundMe. I don't know if there are multiple GoFundMes he's got going on, so that could be something that could be problematic, but that's what they said at the vigil. So I wanted to pass that along. Let's go to Covey. Go ahead, Covey. Final.
Yes, final word. I posted the GoFundMe in the chat, by the way, so that people can follow through. One thing I will say is some books that I would highly recommend people to read, okay? Take a pen and paper, write it down. If you want to actually actively understand
the situation that Black people find themselves in, which is, it's not a situation, it's not a phenomenon, it's a very, very active decision that was made. And this decision was made in order to justify exploiting Black people and to build whole economies over the death and subjugation of Black people. Number one, Walter Rodney's How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. That is the first step, okay? Number two, yes, exactly. Blue and Green is the one who posted it. Thank you very much, Blue and Green. Number two, Stamped from the Beginning by Dr. Ibrahim X. Kendi. If you want to understand how race was created, where it came from, how it manifests within society, Stamped from the Beginning by Dr. Ibrahim X. Kendi will literally give you a deep dive into that. Number three, Frank B. Wilderson the Third's Afro-Pessimism. That's another book that you need to read. So number one, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. Number two, Stamped from the Beginning. Number three, Afro-Pessimism from Frank B. Wilderson's The Third. And then the last thing I want to tell y'all is talk to people. Actively talk. This is one thing, Smitty, I've noticed an issue. A lot of people think I'm just an individual. I can't impact anything. I can't do anything. And that leads a lot of people to not do anything. But trust me, if every single person actively did something within their community, the world that we live in today would have been a much, much better place, right? So talk to at least 5 friends. Even if it's just 5 friends, talk to them. Okay. And then they're going to talk to other 5 people, and those are going to talk to other 5 people, right? Actively raise awareness about these issues, talk about them, go and organize protests, go and, do whatever it is, just be active, right? And lastly, I just wanted to say, that if it's okay with you, I wanted to plug something, Smitty,
Yeah, go ahead.
just generally. There are a couple of initiatives within my link tree in my bio that actively help support Sudanese and Congolese people as well, because Sudan and Congo are really, really going through it. So as I mentioned, 60,000 people were unalived in 3 weeks. So if you want to help, you have Keith Porter's GoFundMe. And if you have extra money to donate, you also have a couple other initiatives in the link tree in my bio as well. Just wanted to say that. Thank you very much, Smitty. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a good day.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate you coming. All right. Thank you. Sherry Ann, final word, something positive we can draw strength from.
Bob Marley said, until the philosophy that makes one race superior and another inferior, there will always be war. And we must always remember that. Secondly, please remember that there have been studies showing that diversity improves the bottom line. And if diversity improves the bottom line in business, then we should use that study to show that if we are diverse all the way around, it improves all of our lives. So just think about group, just white people in one company, that company will probably not survive, versus hiring a diverse people in a company that improves the bottom line. We should think about that and use that as an example of how we should be living in the world.
All right. Thank you, Sheree. Appreciate you, fam, as always. Let me go to A Money. Something positive we can draw strength from. Tailpipe, same question. Want to get Tailpipe up?
Something positive?
Yep.
I don't know. All I know is that we all need to come together at some point, and I think it can be done, 100%. And after seeing my real life friends yesterday for a birthday dinner, I realized real life and TikTok are not the same. Are not the same. The conversations that you do have in real life with real life people are completely different than when you would have on an app or online. Yeah. So definitely go out and talk to people in real life, y'all, not just TikTok, because it's completely different and it's so much better, by the way. What I have on my green screen, because people are asking, is that last year 32 people were unalived by ICE agents just last year. And then this week, 2, as we know, Keith Porter and Renee. So look into all these people, because I'm pretty sure everybody don't have the names of the 32 people that were unalived. So here they are. And my last thought is ICE is IDF. That's what I think. ICE stands for Israel's Coming for Everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Smitty.
Okay. Thanks, Imani, for coming up. Let me go to Tailpipe.
What's up, brother?
Go ahead, brother.
As we close, I was listening the whole time. I've been doing my cardio, so that's why I didn't join. But I wanted to make sure that people get access to, I guess, a knowledge base, something that might help them understand this a little bit better. There's a book called Agents of Repression. It's a book that details how the FBI and the U.S. government specifically fractured political movements and civil rights movements by infiltrating them and destroying them from within. And when you look at the current parallel right now, it's exactly the same playbook. So they pit it against us versus them, meaning that the Latino community, a community that I'm a part of also, but I'm also a part of the Black community. And I get the ability to straddle in between both worlds, even though to me, they're all one. They're not separated, they're not bifurcated at all, because whatever happens to one is indefinitely going to happen to the other. So to the Black community, I would highly stress this. I understand that certain segments of the Latino community don't necessarily want to identify with the Black community. I get that. We don't have a choice. We have to support them, and I'm not even one for protests. I don't believe they necessarily work. I'm more of the active type of person. I don't want to get Smitty's live canceled, but it's very much, we need some level of solidarity, and you need to be out in the streets for these people, because it's guaranteed that the same acts that are being targeted against them, guaranteed they're going to come for all of us, no matter what. And it's beholden on us. We have a long history of well over from the 60s all the way up until now of activism and actually making things work and changing things. I don't think that we should rest on our laurels right now, because literally we're watching the evisceration. When you read this book, you will see exact 100%, not maybe, not kind of, sort of, 100% tactics and parallels that they used in the 60s to right now.
Okay. All right, Tailpipe, appreciate you, bro.
The book is called, again, Agents of Repression.
All right. Thank you, Tailpipe. As always, appreciate your perspective, man. Good to have you. See my sister Goldie in the chat. Much love to you. Thank you to everybody. All of y'all, you can't tell you how much this means to me that you guys spent a part of your Sunday with me. And we got to talk about Keith Porter. And again, I didn't know him personally, but he obviously was unalived very close to where I live. And I did not want to miss his vigil when I heard that there was an opportunity for me to go. And so, Christy, thank you so much. I appreciate that as well. Appreciate all of the support. Thank you, NY. Appreciate that. And I will see you, Jen. Much love. Thank you. I will see y'all all tomorrow. I'm probably going to run a debate live tomorrow. We'll see. Denise, appreciate you. Deez, appreciate you. All right. You guys take care. Y'all have a good